Are you ready for the ultimate Zarpado compilation facts? Subscribe and let's start. Lego bricks are manufactured with an industrial precision that borders on the unbelievable. Out of every million pieces produced, only 18 turn out defective, thanks to heavy-duty steel molds and rigorous quality checks at every single stage. This extreme accuracy guarantees that a modern brick snaps perfectly together with one made decades ago. Over in Zurich, Samsung placed transparent booths in busy public areas and challenged passers-by to sit inside for 60 minutes without once touching their phones. The prize? A Galaxy Watch Sport. Most couldn't even last 10 minutes. The campaign sparked a global conversation about our tech addiction. For 10 long years, a Filipino fisherman kept a massive white rock under his bed as a good luck charm. It wasn't until he moved houses that someone finally identified what he actually had. The largest natural pearl ever discovered, weighing over 75 pounds and measuring more than 2 feet long, valued at millions of dollars. The Waitomo glowworm caves in New Zealand look like something straight out of a fairy tale. Deep inside lives a unique species of glowworm that radiates a soft blue light, hanging from the ceiling like a blanket of stars. Visitors drift silently down an underground river by boat, staring up at a bioluminescent ceiling that stands as one of the most breathtaking natural spectacles on Earth. Hidden inside American football stadiums is a secret space known as the Sniper's Nest. From this high, isolated vantage point, highly trained security snipers monitor the crowds throughout the games. Their role is strictly preventive, meaning they only step in during severe threats like terror attacks or armed incidents to protect the thousands of fans below. The Hyperloop is a high-speed transit system conceptualized by Elon Musk, who open-sourced the design so other companies could bring it to life. The setup features passenger pods that levitate inside low-pressure tubes, wiping out almost all air friction. While still in the testing phase, it could potentially top over 600 miles per hour, blurring the line between train travel and sci-fi. New Zealand holds a pretty unexpected record. It's the #1 ice cream consumer per capita in the entire world, with residents devouring an average of over 7 gallons a year, crushing nations with much hotter climates. This massive obsession has sparked wild local flavors like Manuka honey and blue cheese, with artisan scoop shops popping up on every single corner. When a cat licks your hand, their tongue feels exactly like sandpaper. That's because it's covered in papillae, microscopic, backward-facing spines made of keratin that act as a built-in comb. They don't just detangle loose fur and dirt, they also distribute saliva like a leave-in conditioner to regulate body temperature. Back in the year 1939, General Motors unveiled the Pontiac Ghost Car, a fully functional vehicle built with a completely transparent plexiglass body. It offered an unobstructed view right into the engine, the interior, and the braking system. Carton King is a unique theme park in Taiwan, where practically everything is built out of cardboard. The walls, the tables, the chairs, and even a fully functional train. The on-site restaurant even serves its meals on recyclable cardboard dishes. It's a brilliant blend of art, sustainability, and tourism. Tucked away in England is the Alnwick Poison Garden, a botanical wonderland where almost everything can kill you. It houses over 100 deadly species like deadly nightshade and ricin, which are so incredibly toxic that merely brushing against them can cause severe harm. Tours are strictly guided with tight safety rules. Pringles potato chips feature a highly specific curved shape called a hyperbolic paraboloid, and it's not just for looks. This precise mathematical curve distributes pressure completely evenly when the chips are stacked inside their cylindrical tube, stopping them from cracking. It's a seamless blend of science and snack design that completely changes the crunch game. Angela Luna, the visionary designer behind the brand Adif, created a heavy-duty jacket that transforms into a full-size camping tent, engineered specifically to aid the homeless and refugees. Built from waterproof and windproof fabrics, It features hidden pockets for personal belongings. The gear swept design awards and humanitarian recognition. On the island of Lanzarote, there is a restaurant nestled inside Timanfaya National Park that cooks its entire menu using nothing but the heat from the ground. A massive grill sits directly over a natural open pit, catching temperatures that soar past 750 degrees Fahrenheit from deep within the earth. During the closing ceremony of the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games, athletes delivered a breathtaking synchronized performance utilizing wheelchairs, prosthetics, and pixel-perfect choreography. They put on an unbelievable display of collective strength and timing. The show spotlighted inclusion, sheer grit, and sports as a universal language, leaving millions worldwide deeply moved. Beasley is a dog who went viral for rocking dental braces, not for a Hollywood makeover, but for his health. He suffered from a severe misalignment that made it incredibly painful to chew, causing him to drop weight fast. A veterinary orthodontist fitted him with specialized braces to align his bite, and thanks to the treatment, up in Alaska, summer days packed with up to 20 hours of continuous sunlight give plants a non-stop growing window. The result? Record-breaking monster vegetables like 35-pound broccoli heads, carrots the length of a human arm, and giant melons. Squid Game was originally envisioned as a self-contained, single-season series. But after exploding into an unprecedented global mega-hit, Netflix ordered 2 additional seasons on the spot. The creator was handed just 6 months to pen the new scripts. This South Korean tale of survival and societal critique shattered viewership records, cementing itself as a massive cultural phenomenon. If you drop M and Miss into a bowl of water, you'll see the printed letter float right to the top. The letters are stamped using a specialized edible paper ink that doesn't dissolve right away. As the outer sugar shell melts down, the letter M peels away completely intact. Statistically speaking, you are significantly more likely to lose your life from the flying cork of a champagne bottle than from a venomous spider bite. A pressurized cork can rocket out of a bottle at high speeds, capable of inflicting fatal trauma if it strikes sensitive areas like the temple or neck. The Garmin Messenger Plus allows you to type out texts, share your exact coordinates, and even beam photos across satellite networks, operating flawlessly in the most isolated corners of the globe without a cell tower in sight. The battery pushes through multiple days, and it features tactical physical buttons built for emergencies. In Gloucester, England, crowds gather every year for the famous Cooper's Hill cheese roll. Brave participants throw themselves down a nearly vertical, incredibly steep hill, chasing an 8-pound wheel of cheese that spins downward at breakneck speeds. The first person to cross the finish line wins the wheel. Automated vending machines have taken over the fresh ramen game. Customers pick out their preferred noodles and toppings like soft-boiled eggs, sweet corn, nori seaweed, or pork belly via an interactive touchscreen, and the machine builds a piping hot bowl instantly. Some spots even offer counters right there, perfectly fusing fast tech with comfort food. The Moomin Cafe in Japan offers a heartwarming solution for solo diners: giant, fluffy plush companions. If you walk in by yourself, the staff politely seats a massive stuffed character right across from you, so you never feel isolated. The idea proved so incredibly popular that it spread to multiple locations. Gaten Matarazzo, the actor who plays Dustin on Stranger Things, lives with a rare genetic condition called cleidocranial dysplasia, which heavily impacts the development of bones, collarbones, and teeth. This is exactly why his character's missing teeth are written directly into the show's script. Gaten regularly uses his global platform to talk about it. The 12 Apostles are striking limestone rock stacks, towering right out of the Southern Ocean, along Australia's iconic Great Ocean Road. They were carved out over millions of years by the relentless pounding of wind and waves. Even though erosion has collapsed several pillars over time, the legendary name sticks. Artist Ivan Black crafts hypnotic kinetic sculptures using interconnected metal rings that bend, twist, and contract in ultra-precise geometric loops. After every single mesmerizing transformation, they fluidly return to their original shape like magic. They don't use motors or high-tech gear, just perfect balance and structural tension, creating a deep visual meditation on rhythm and change. The Unagi Travels Agency in Japan offers a bizarre service. You mail them your favorite stuffed animal, and they take it on a full-scale vacation. They photograph your plushie posing in front of world-famous landmarks, curate travel itineraries, and even bring back tiny souvenirs. You get your toy back with a complete adventure album. The Canadian passport hides a brilliant secret. Under ultraviolet light, its pages burst into a glowing display of maple leaves, exploding fireworks, and rushing waterfalls, turning the document into a glowing map. It isn't just a design flex. It's a highly sophisticated security measure against counterfeiting, creating a travel document that surprises you by revealing a hidden world. Photochromic lenses darken completely on their own. The second you step into the sun, driven by a specialized chemical reaction inside the molecules that triggers when UV rays hit them. Once you step back indoors, they seamlessly clear back up. This smart tech delivers non-stop eye protection without forcing you to swap glasses. Beijing rolled out high-tech smart trash bins equipped with advanced facial recognition software. The lids unlock automatically the moment they identify a resident, a move designed to track and encourage proper recycling habits. Deployed across major residential complexes to clean up neighborhoods. Back in the year 2018, a 1963 Ferrari 250 GTO sold for a mind-boggling $70 million, shattering the record for the most expensive car ever sold. Only 36 units were ever built. Revered as the ultimate holy grail of the automotive world, it stands as a legendary status symbol. Australia was home to Knickers, a Holstein Friesian steer that stood an astonishing 6 feet, 4 inches tall, and weighed over 2,200 pounds. He was simply too massive to fit into standard processing facilities, which saved him from the slaughterhouse and turned him into an overnight global sensation. Inside the Terme Milano Spa in Italy, there's a specialized wellness room where water cascades from the ceiling to simulate a full-scale indoor thunderstorm, complete with low acoustic thunder and synchronized lightning lights. This multisensorial therapy triggers deep relaxation. Crochet has gone completely digital. Advanced three-dimensional printers can now replicate individual yarn stitches, creating everything from animated characters to realistic animals layer by layer. Without a single needle or spool of thread, this blend of heritage, craft, and tech yields warm, nostalgic pieces that beautifully blur the line. 73-year-old John Evans can balance incredibly heavy objects using nothing but the top of his skull, lifting everything from stacked soda cans to giant car tires and even actual people. It isn't just raw brute strength. It requires meticulous core control, flawless technique, and textbook balance. A lone wolf's howl can travel up to 10 miles across open terrain under ideal conditions. Thanks to its deep, low-frequency pitch and sustained tone, the sound cuts easily through dense forests, mountain ranges, and flat plains. It allows wolves to stay in touch with their pack, stake out territory boundaries. Driving a Formula One car is infinitely more brutal than it looks from the couch. Inside the cockpit, ambient temperatures regularly cross 140 degrees Fahrenheit, causing drivers to lose several pounds of body weight in a single race from pure sweat. They endure savage diets and hyper-specialized training just to survive the extreme heat, G-forces. This innovative shower curtain comes equipped with built-in clear pockets on the outside, engineered to hold your smartphones, tablets, or even laptops safely while you wash. Built from heavy-duty, waterproof materials that clean up with a quick wipe, it merges tech connectivity with home comfort. Down in Japan, McDonald's teamed up with Nintendo to build a highly exclusive training video game for its incoming crew members. Running on Nintendo DS systems, the game taught new hires how to assemble burgers, handle customer orders, and manage kitchen pacing through gamified time challenges, turning boring corporate training into an addictive, familiar experience. The Curoscope Virtuality t-shirt fuses casual fashion with augmented reality to teach human anatomy. When you scan the shirt using a smartphone app, it triggers a live three-dimensional animation that peels back the fabric to reveal your internal organs. Users can tap their screens to explore the inner workings of the heart, lungs, or digestive tract in real time. During a beautiful outdoor wedding ceremony, a mother duck completely hijacked the event, marching her line of ducklings straight down the aisle and causing the guests to burst into laughter. The exact moment was caught on video and instantly blew up online, proving that unexpected party crashers can steal the spotlight and turn a formal event into an unforgettable memory. Kinetic sculptures are engineered to generate the illusion of living movement when placed under a strobe light. To the naked eye, they look like static, abstract shapes, but the moment rhythmic pulses of light hit them, they instantly spring to life. This technique blends art, physics, and optical tech to trick the brain into seeing moving creatures, ocean waves, or dancers out of solid metal. The NanoPack Day Pack weighs an astonishing 1.2 ounces, rolls up into the palm of your hand, and can haul up to 66 pounds of gear. Crafted from ultra-fine fibers that are thinner than a human hair, yet surprisingly rugged, it packs down in seconds, shrugs off water, and slips easily into any pocket. Black fire is a rare phenomenon created by mixing ethanol, sodium salt, and specific streetlight illumination. It generates flames that look completely black because the sodium aggressively absorbs orange light waves. This visual anomaly completely shatters our perception of what fire should look like, delivering a hypnotic optical illusion that perfectly blurs the line between high science and pure magic. Coca-Cola is not officially sold anywhere in Cuba or North Korea due to tight political embargoes and economic restrictions. Even so, it finds a way. Bootleg cans leak into Cuba via Mexico. Zooming in on regular table salt under a high-powered microscope pulls back the curtain on a stunning, hidden world. Every single crystal forms a perfect miniature cube with razor-sharp right angles and flat faces, dictated by the molecular structure of sodium and chlorine. Back in the year 2021, billionaire Richard Branson boarded his own Virgin Galactic spacecraft to pull off a historic suborbital mission. The passengers on board got to experience several minutes of pure weightlessness while staring down at the curved rim of the Earth against the black void of space. The flight officially kicked off a brand new era where space aims to be the next luxury vacation destination. Snapping a casual nighttime photo of the Eiffel Tower can actually land you in legal hot water if you try to use it for commercial gain. The intricate lighting display that illuminates the tower at night is fully protected by copyright laws. An ultra-simple pinhole camera with no actual lens, just a tiny, needle-sized opening, captured the longest photographic exposure ever recorded, spanning a whopping 8 years. Set up back in the year 2012 in the United Kingdom, the final image reveals the sun's daily path burned as hundreds of curved streaks over a static landscape. Over on the island of La Palma, Spain, crowds gather once every 5 years for the legendary Dance of the Dwarfs. The show kicks off with normal-sized men dressed as formal scientists who suddenly vanish behind a screen, only to reappear a split second later as tiny, bobble-headed dancers executing an energetic choreography. Slip on a specialized haptic shirt, and you can feel every single collision in the virtual world mapped directly onto your chest. The fabric vibrates, pulses, and applies physical pressure in perfect synchronization with your video game or virtual reality experience. If a virtual grenade detonates nearby, your chest actually feels the concussive force. Daniel Roselle Levine managed to fully solve a scrambled Rubik's Cube using only his bare feet in a mind-boggling 16.96 seconds. He spent months training 5 hours every single day just to coordinate the fine motor movements of his toes. His world record is insane not just for the speed. Deep in the state of Massachusetts, there is a charming historical town named Sandwich. The hilarious twist is that every official town vehicle, from the local police cruisers to the massive red fire trucks, has the town name emblazoned right across the doors. It creates a comedy routine where it looks like emergency services are constantly advertising a lunch menu. Across nations like Mexico, Germany, Belgium, and Australia, attempting to break out of prison is completely legal. The local justice systems view the pursuit of freedom as a basic, undeniable human instinct. As long as an inmate doesn't cause any property damage or resort to physical violence, no extra time is added to their sentence. In Japan, the market for ultra-luxury chocolates has exploded, and it is being driven almost entirely by men. High-end boutiques are rolling out artisanal bonbons infused with incredibly rare ingredients, commands prices scaling past $100 for a single small box. Japanese men view these high-end treats as a major status symbol. An elite group of female skydivers just shattered records by assembling the largest vertical head-to-earth formation ever captured. Dropping through the sky in a vertical dive at speeds screaming past 120 miles per hour, they linked up to construct flawless geometric patterns in midair. It took months of grueling training and split-second timing. Chinese artist Hangul takes the concept of camouflage to a mind-bending level using nothing but body paint. He positions himself in front of landscapes, urban buildings, or grocery store shelves, then spends hours meticulously painting his clothes and skin until he completely melts into the background. The classic potato chip undergoes a precise industrial journey, starting with raw potatoes being washed and sliced into paper-thin wafers before taking a plunge into boiling oil to lock in that signature crunch. From there, they are cooled, salted, or dusted with custom seasonings, and sealed in airtight bags to protect their shelf life. Your smartphone screen can easily harbor up to 10 times more bacteria than the average public toilet seat. It makes sense. The device is in constant contact with our hands, stays warm from internal battery use, and rarely gets wiped down with a disinfectant. Developing a quick habit of wiping down your phone and washing your hands is the easiest way to stop germs from hijacking your health. Male kangaroos actively flex their biceps like bodybuilders just to impress female suitors. They develop surprisingly massive arm muscles and will stand completely upright during mating season to flaunt their upper body strength. The more toned and ripped the bicep, the better their odds of winning a mate, proving that gym bro posturing is alive and well in the animal kingdom. The barren deserts of Saudi Arabia were recently transformed into a winter wonderland after an intense cold snap dropped a thick blanket of snow over the sand dunes. While northern high-altitude regions like Tabuk catch a dusting of snow almost every winter. Glass potato chips are a mind-blowing culinary innovation taking over high-end gastronomy. Chefs boil down regular potatoes to extract their flavor into a broth, which is then filtered until it becomes a crystal-clear liquid. By mixing in pure potato starch, they create a gel that is dried and fried into a see-through, ultra-crispy sheet. The Lifespan Ampera desk bike lets you pedal your way through the workday. The killer feature here is an integrated internal generator that uses your kinetic energy to charge your laptop or phone battery while you spin, completely freeing you from wall outlets. It seamlessly injects physical activity right into your workflow. Ever since the year 2014, one dedicated collector has been hoarding fast food toys from global chains like McDonald's and Burger King. Today, his vault spans over 20,000 unique pieces, including retro action figures, die-cast cars, plushies, and movie tie-ins. The most impressive part isn't the scale, it's his sheer discipline. Inside the Louvre Museum, home to some of the world's most historic masterpieces, Visitors navigate the galleries using a Nintendo 3DS as their official interactive audio guide. The system loads interactive 3D maps, deep historical breakdowns, and custom audio tours in multiple languages. A gym in Japan has taken workout motivation to the next level by wiring stationary exercise bikes directly into Mario Kart. To drive their digital characters forward in real-time virtual races, users have to pedal away with their real-world pedaling intensity directly controlling their kart's top speed on screen. White chocolate does not actually contain a single speck of solid cocoa or chocolate liquor. Instead, it is made by blending rich cocoa butter with sugar, milk solids, and a touch of vanilla, giving it that signature ultra-smooth, creamy texture and sweet flavor profile. While chocolate purists argue it shouldn't even wear the name, Mariel Water Park in Qatar stands as the country's most advanced aquatic playground, packing 45 rides and 53 distinct water slides designed to thrill all age groups. The park's crown jewel is an iconic, record-shattering slide tower that stands over 278 feet tall. Prism glasses are a lifelike hack that lets you read a book or watch television while lying completely flat on your back without tilting your chin. They utilize angled lenses that act like miniature periscopes, bending your line of sight 90 degrees so you can see straight down your body without moving a muscle. They are a lifelike savior for chronic neck pain sufferers and bedridden hospital patients. Every single Easter on the Greek island of Chios, two rival church congregations unleash a spectacular war by firing thousands of homemade rockets directly at each other's bell towers. It is a dangerous, adrenaline-fueled, yet carefully coordinated tradition that paints the night sky in streams of sparks. Animal rescuers in Mexico recently took in a stunning Bengal cat that had locals completely doing a double take. With its glowing golden coat, dark rosettes, and fierce stare, the animal looks exactly like a miniature wild leopard. This specialized breed is the direct result of pairing an Asian leopard cat. The world's first portable triple-screen laptop extension plugs in using just a single USB cable, giving you 2 extra active monitors instantly. The setup is ultra-lightweight, folds down in seconds, and slides easily into a briefcase, making it a powerhouse tool for software programmers and day traders. Best of all, it draws power straight from your laptop. The smallest functional cell phone on the planet was engineered by the Japanese brand Sankyo, and it sits in the palm of your hand with room to spare. It strips away all the modern smartphone bloat to focus purely on the essentials: voice calls, text messaging, and a built-in flashlight. It has become a massive viral hit on Amazon. Dogs carry a specialized array of whiskers called vibrissae that function as high-precision sensory radars. These thick hairs are packed with ultra-sensitive nerve endings at the base that can track subtle air currents and microscopic vibrations in their immediate surroundings. They allow dogs to navigate pitch-black rooms and detect approaching objects. Janites Ronki is a digital animation creator who has gone viral for mastering the art of the visual illusion. His mind-bending work utilizes a brilliant mix of creative timing and digital tech to make physical objects morph, float, or vanish entirely right before your eyes. Every loop forces you to double-check your screen. The mannequins of the future are officially here, packing 9 motorized joints that allow them to morph through different body shapes and sizes at the touch of a button. This tech is completely disrupting the fashion industry, allowing designers to instantly test how a single garment drapes on a petite frame versus a plus-size shape. Alex Honnold practices the ultimate high-stakes sport of free solo climbing, scaling vertical rock walls thousands of feet in the air without a single rope, harness, or safety net. He places his life entirely in the hands of his grip strength, physical balance, and unbreakable mental focus. A single slip means certain death, making his flawless ascents some of the most jaw-dropping displays of human discipline. There is a highly advanced training mannequin engineered specifically to help rookie barbers master their craft without ruining anyone's hair. The mannequin features specialized synthetic hair strands, and when a barber passes a custom tool over the shaved zones, the hair magically feeds back out to its original length. Olympic swimmer Mireia Belmonte starred in a breathtaking clean air campaign by running on a treadmill inside a sealed bubble while breathing the direct exhaust emissions of a Hyundai crossover. The catch? The vehicle was powered by a cutting-edge hydrogen fuel cell, meaning its only exhaust output was pure oxygen and water vapor. Japan has officially rolled out luxury capsule hotels designed exclusively for cats. These feline retreats offer pampered pets, private multi-level suites packed with plush bedding, climbing toys, and controlled socialization zones while their owners travel. Monitored around the clock by certified handlers. Back in the year 2014, a massive art installation at the Tower of London honored the fallen soldiers of World War I by planting 888,246 ceramic poppies, one for every single British military life lost. An ultra-futuristic 8-inch spherical display screen can project vivid imagery in a full 360 degrees, allowing spectators to walk entirely around it without losing a single pixel of detail. By breaking out of the traditional flat-screen box, it creates the illusion that a digital object is floating in thin air. At the Harbin Ice Festival in China back in the year 2018, master ice sculptors built the tallest ice tower on the planet, soaring over 98 feet into the air. Shaped to mirror the flowing curves of a flamenco dancer's skirt, the massive frozen structure was embedded with thousands of programmable LED lights. Abebe Bikila shocked the world at the Rome Olympics by running the entire marathon completely barefoot because his new running shoes were giving him painful blisters. He conquered the grueling 26-mile course in record time, becoming the first sub-Saharan African to capture an Olympic gold medal. His barefoot victory stands as a timeless monument to human endurance, proving grit easily trumps gear. French photographer François Derlaine blew up across social media by using his smartphone to seamlessly stitch animated movie scenes right into everyday reality. By holding his screen up in front of famous landmarks or mundane street corners, he aligns characters from Disney or Pixar with the physical background, creating hilarious. In the Eyes of the Animal is an immersive virtual reality experience that lets humans perceive the wilderness exactly like a mosquito, a frog, or an owl. Developed in the United Kingdom, the project combines stunning 360-degree environmental scans with binaural audio. Pixel Darts is a smart electronic dartboard that utilizes safe, soft-tip darts, making it a perfect fit for family game rooms. The coolest part is that when you aren't playing a match, the integrated high-definition screen doubles as a smart home dashboard, displaying real-time weather forecasts, news streams, or custom family notes. The city of Melbourne, Australia, hosts an epic annual battle royale fought entirely with cardboard boxes. Hundreds of warriors show up to the park rocking intricate suits of armor, shields, and massive weapons crafted from recycled cardboard to duke it out under strict minimal contact rules. The goal isn't to win, but to celebrate sustainability and community. Conceptual artist Alice Espana took a standard porcelain toilet, coated the entire surface in raw chia seeds, and meticulously misted it with water for days until they germinated into a thick, neon green blanket of living sprouts. The viral art piece serves as a commentary on human waste and natural renewal. Poland is home to a bizarre water sport where two opposing teams pack themselves into a single dragon boat and frantically paddle in completely opposite directions. It is a brutal test of raw power, synchronization, and water strategy that effectively functions as a high-stakes tug-of-war match directly on the river. Designer Gary Faden constructs customized mechanical gloves outfitted with massive, three-dimensionally printed fingers, tailored to the anatomy of each individual user. Every single pair requires 5 long months of precise calibration to mirror the user's bone structure. By merging advanced engineering with human biology, these gloves are opening massive doors for physical rehabilitation. Over in Japan, elite amazin artists can transform boiling liquid sugar into intricate edible sculptures in mere seconds before the candy cools and hardens. Using nothing but their bare hands and a specialized pair of traditional scissors, they pull and snip the sugar into detailed dragons and animals. The Mojo Vision lenses are officially being hailed as the world's very first smart augmented reality contact lenses. While still navigating rigorous developmental testing, the working prototypes can already beam navigation data, live text translations, and notifications directly onto the user's cornea. Octopuses are the undisputed geniuses of the deep sea, so much so that when they are kept in aquariums without mental stimulation, they get bored fast. To keep them sharp, marine biologists hand them complex physical puzzles, like unscrewing jars, manipulating puzzle blocks, or navigating mazes. In New York, an extraordinary basketball team known as the Towers is completely rewriting the rules of the court. Every single player on the roster lives with dwarfism, but they utilize lightning-fast court speed, complex ball strategies, and lethal shooting accuracy to compete against average-sized teams. At one bustling Chinese restaurant, the waiters don't just walk to your table, they skate. Balancing heavy trays on their fingertips, they glide past chairs with the precision of a perfectly rehearsed dance troupe. This high-speed stunt doesn't just cut their serving times in half. Over in Japan, a real-life Mario Bros. Theme park lets you ditch the screens to sprint through a physical gaming level. Visitors strap on interactive smart bands that track their movements, letting them punch floating blocks and harvest virtual coins with every step. It turns an entire physical park into an immersive playground, dropping you straight into the world of Nintendo's iconic plumber. Nemes is the official police cat of Amsterdam, and he has captured the internet's heart as a massive social media celebrity. Rocking a specialized miniature police vest, this friendly feline patrols the local docks to secure a prominent houseboat. He has become a beloved neighborhood fixture. Midas is an incredibly rare kitten born with 4 fully formed ears due to an unusual genetic mutation. While her extra set of ears gives her a striking, otherworldly look, her hearing and health are completely flawless. Her unique look instantly triggered a massive viral wave online. Artist Chris Jacob is completely redefining modern abstract art with his fluid acrylic paint masterpieces. His canvases feature explosive bursts of color that look like they are actively shifting and flowing in real time, creating hypnotic patterns that lock your eyes in place. Because the liquid paint is left to run freely under his master guidance, no 2 pieces can ever be replicated. Down in Tokyo, a futuristic sushi lounge named Sushi Singularity is taking high-tech gastronomy to a whole new dimension. Before you even sit down, the restaurant analyzes your health data and biometric readouts to 3-dimensionally print custom sushi tailored exactly to your nutritional needs. It is a seamless blend of cutting-edge tech. There is a heavy-duty pocket notepad built entirely out of aerospace-grade aluminum and specialized stone paper. The result is a rugged booklet that is completely waterproof, fire-resistant, and drop-proof, topped off with a sleek magnetic pen that snaps directly to the frame, using mineral stone instead of cutting down a single tree. This multifunctional wireless charging hub packs a digital alarm clock, a rapid charging pad, and an ambient temperature readout into one sleek device. Engineered to fast-charge iPhone and Samsung devices without a single messy cord, its compact blueprint is the ultimate upgrade for your nightstand. This programmable robot dog is built to give kids the ultimate introduction to basic coding through voice commands and a smart remote. Designed to mimic the realistic fluid movements of an actual puppy, The USB rechargeable toy features interactive modes that let it dance, walk, sit, and bark. In Japan, a professional performer named Choco Ira doesn't just work as a beloved mascot, she teaches others the secrets of the trade. She launched a specialized academy where students learn the fine art of body language, crowd work, and spatial awareness while wearing massive, heavy suits. It requires intense physical stamina, proving that bringing an adorable character to life is grueling work. A viral video recently captured a massive bull joyfully playing with a large pasture ball, using its snout and hooves to dribble it across the grass. The heartwarming footage pulled back the curtain on a playful, deeply curious side of these animals that completely shatters their aggressive reputation. Ethiopia officially holds a quirky Guinness World Record for the longest continuous water-spitting stream, clocking in at an unbelievable 56.36 seconds. Maintaining a steady, unbroken stream of water for nearly a full minute requires intense muscle memory and extreme breath control. While it looks hilarious, the feat was heavily monitored by official judges to cement its spot in history. A viral TikTok tutorial has taken the internet by storm, showcasing an ingenious origami folding technique to seal a gift bag without using tape or staples. The video demonstrates how a few geometric folds can lock the paper together into a flawless, secure closure. Visionary designer Paul Fur sketched a conceptual stadium engineered to hold a staggering 1 million spectators at a single event. The massive circular arena features colossal panoramic screens, automated internal transit lines, and smart luxury lounges to handle the crowd. While it remains a blueprint, it pushes the boundaries of logistics, architecture. Valued at a jaw-dropping $8.5 million, the world's most luxurious dollhouse features 29 rooms packed with over 10,000 handmade miniature pieces. Every single rug was embroidered under a microscope. The walls feature hand-painted fine art, and the tiny furniture was carved out of real ivory. One picky kitten became an overnight TikTok sensation after his owner documented his refusal to drink anything but one specific premium brand of mineral water. The viral video shows the cat turning up his nose at tap water, filtered water, and rival brands without hesitation. The world's largest Lego roller coaster features an incredible 85-foot track constructed from over 90,000 individual plastic bricks. The massive playroom engineering marvel includes steep drops, high-speed banking turns, and dark tunnels. Powered by a miniature motorized pulley system, the Lego cars cruise through the course seamlessly, turning pure patience into an operating theme park. A Japanese artist shocked onlookers by installing a massive, floating zipper sculpture right in the middle of a public lake. From a distance, it creates the mind-bending illusion that a motorboat is actively unzipping the water's surface like a piece of fabric. The kinetic artwork plays with ambient light and perspective. Down on the island of Bohol in the Philippines, a freediver captured a surreal moment when he accidentally drifted straight into a massive school of translucent baby jellyfish. The breathtaking footage of a single human floating completely suspended among thousands of glowing, alien-like creatures instantly caught fire online. Mount Huashan in China is globally renowned for hosting some of the most terrifying hiking trails on the planet. Reaching heights thousands of feet in the air, this sacred Taoist mountain features narrow wooden planks bolted directly into sheer rock faces with nothing but a chain link to hold on to. The terrifying trek rewards the brave with world-class views and an unforgettable adrenaline rush. Melanie is a brilliant ferret from England who has mastered over 100 complex human tricks, from riding a miniature bicycle to helping her owner sort household items. Thanks to an abundance of patience and positive reinforcement, she became a massive internet star. Of course, she still uses her high intelligence to sneak treats into her hiding spots when no one is looking. Every year, California hosts the world's ugliest dog contest, turning less than photogenic pups into absolute international superstars. The quirky event celebrates crooked teeth, hairless bodies, and floppy tongues, to highlight the inner beauty of every animal. Beyond the laughs, the viral competition shines a massive spotlight on pet adoption. An innovative culinary spot has taken the internet by storm by rolling out fully edible Crocs that have absolutely nothing to do with rubber shoes. These specialized treats are actually golden waffles, molded into the shape of the iconic clog, packed with gourmet sweet or savory fillings. The Danyang Kunshan Grand Bridge in China stretches over a mind-boggling 100 miles, officially securing its crown as the longest bridge on Earth. The massive concrete structure elevates a high-speed rail line across rivers and valleys, slashing travel times between major economic hubs. Incredibly, teams managed to fully construct the entire mega project in just over 3 years. The T3R is a highly versatile emergency flotation device engineered to adapt to intense water sports and hazardous search and rescue operations without missing a beat. The world's smallest action camera is so compact, it can be clipped directly to a helmet, a chest harness, or even the frame of your sunglasses. Despite its micro size, it captures high-definition video backed by advanced electronic stabilization while remaining completely waterproof and shockproof. It is the ultimate tool for extreme athletes who want to document their runs with zero bulk. Tucked away in a quiet coastal town in Japan, there is a disconnected telephone booth designed for a heartbreaking purpose: to talk to the wind. Installed in Otsuchi following a devastating tsunami, the booth allows grieving survivors to dial the phone to voice their final goodbyes to lost loved ones. The famous square watermelon is a Japanese agricultural invention built entirely for aesthetics rather than flavor. Farmers grow the fruit inside heavy-duty tempered glass cubes, forcing them to take on a perfect box shape as they expand. While they are incredibly easy to stack and transport, they are sold as luxury decorative items with price tags scaling past $100 a pop. Deep in Sweden, there is an entire luxury hotel constructed out of thousands of tons of pure ice and snow. The iconic ice hotel in Jukkasjärvi completely melts back into the river every spring, only to be meticulously redesigned and rebuilt by global artists each winter. Guests sleep on solid ice beds covered in thick reindeer pelts, enduring an indoor temperature of 23 degrees Fahrenheit. Over in China, a high-tech restaurant has completely replaced its front-of-house staff with an army of automated robots. These machines greet you at the door, take your dinner order via touchscreen, and glide across the floor to deliver steaming plates directly to your table. While it completely strips away human interaction, the world record for balancing the most golf balls on top of a single ball using only your bare hands stands at a jaw-dropping 9 balls. Perfecting this stack required weeks of isolated practice, immense breath control, and the steady hand of a neurosurgeon. The final tower stands for only a few fleeting seconds before collapsing, but the captured footage lives on forever. Swirling deep within the ocean currents sits the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, a colossal vortex of marine debris that covers a surface area larger than the entire country of France. The real danger isn't floating bottles, but trillions of microscopic plastic particles that are completely invisible to the naked eye. These microplastics have breached the marine food chain, winding up in fish and human bloodlines. Japanese beverage giant Kirin developed a revolutionary electric spoon that can make your food taste significantly saltier without adding a single grain of actual sodium. The device works by passing a microcurrent of electricity to the tip of your tongue. The longest non-stop commercial flight in the world operates between Singapore and New York, covering a staggering 9,500 miles in roughly 19 hours. Passengers on board endure a journey that crosses multiple time zones in one sitting. To combat the brutal jet lag, Shosugi-ban is a traditional Japanese woodworking technique spanning over 1,000 years that involves intentionally charring timber to preserve it. By burning the outer layer of the wood, the material becomes naturally resistant to pests, rot, moisture, and even future fires. It has become a massive trend in modern architecture. Every winter, Iceland's night skies come alive with the aurora borealis, drawing millions of travelers between September and March. This spectacular light show occurs when charged solar particles collide violently with Earth's magnetic field, painting the atmosphere in shifting curtains of neon green and violet. The historic city of Venice, Italy, is built across 118 small islands stitched together by over 400 stone bridges. The foundations of these massive palazzos rest on millions of wooden pilings driven deep into the mud of the Adriatic Sea centuries ago. Remarkably, the total lack of oxygen beneath the silt has preserved the timber. In South Korea, professional gaming has officially risen to the status of an accredited university major. Elite students study competitive strategy, team psychology, and mechanical execution just like any traditional academic discipline. The top graduates secure roster spots on multi-million-dollar esports teams. The oldest known living organism on the planet is a bristlecone pine tree named Methuselah, which has been growing for nearly 5,000 years. Nestled high in the White Mountains of California, its exact location is kept a classified state secret by forestry officials to protect it from vandals. It has quietly survived wars, climate shifts. Deep in the ocean lives the Turritopsis dohrnii, an extraordinary creature widely known as the immortal jellyfish. When this species faces extreme physical stress, sickness, or old age, it can actively reverse its cellular life cycle to transform back into a juvenile polyp, repeating the loop indefinitely. Scientists are studying its biology to unlock the secrets of cellular regeneration. Silbo-Gomero is a fascinating whistled language used by the inhabitants of La Gomera in the Canary Islands to communicate across deep mountain valleys. The whistled notes can mimic the phonetics of spoken Spanish over distances spanning up to 5 miles. Formally recognized by UNESCO as a masterpiece of oral heritage, the language is now a mandatory subject in local elementary schools. Dolphins stand out as one of the very few animals in nature that engage in play purely for entertainment. Marine biologists have filmed them blowing perfect silver air rings underwater and flipping them around like toys. They are known to mimic other marine species for laughs and spontaneously rescue humans in distress. You have probably heard the legend that NASA spent millions developing a space pen while the Soviets simply used a pencil, but that story is a complete myth. In reality, the pressurized space pen was independently engineered and funded by inventor Paul Fisher without a single dime of government money. While both agencies started out using pencils, they eventually bought the Fisher space pen, which is sold as a luxury item today. African penguins communicate using a loud, distinct braying sound that sounds exactly like a farm donkey, earning them the historical nickname of jackass penguins. Inhabiting the rugged coastlines of South Africa and Namibia, they face a steep path toward extinction. Deep in India, there is a highway stretch known as Magnetic Hill, where parked cars appear to roll completely uphill entirely on their own. While it looks like a supernatural phenomenon, the trick is actually an intense optical illusion caused by the unique slant of the surrounding mountains. The blue-ringed octopus might only measure about 4 inches long, but it stands as one of the deadliest predators in the entire ocean. Its venom contains a lethal neurotoxin with no known medical antidote, capable of shutting down a human's respiratory system in minutes. There is a colossal tree in India known as the Great Banyan that covers so much ground it looks like an entire dense forest. Growing for over 300 years inside the Calcutta Botanical Garden, its massive branches have dropped down over 3,000 secondary roots into the dirt, spanning across 3 full acres of land. The coldest permanently inhabited town on the planet is Oymyakon, tucked deep inside Siberia, Russia, where winter temperatures routinely plummet past -60 degrees Fahrenheit. Despite the brutal freeze, a community of roughly 500 residents calls it home. Drivers have to leave their car engines running 24 hours a day. Back in the year 2017, A research team at Stanford University successfully trained an artificial intelligence network to detect skin cancer with a success rate that matched or outperformed human dermatologists. The system was trained by scanning a massive library of over 129,000 clinical images. The hummingbird holds a unique title in the aviation world. It is the only bird capable of flying completely backward. Their wings beat at an astonishing 50 to 80 strokes per second, creating their signature high-pitched hum. To fuel this high-octane flight, their heart rate screams past 1,200 beats per minute. Human beings hold the unique distinction of being the only animals on Earth that shed tears due to raw emotion. While other creatures generate tears to lubricate and flush out their eyes, emotional crying is entirely unique to our species. Evolutionary biologists are still debating its function. Hidden within the deep rainforests of northern South America is a spider the size of a dinner plate known as the Goliath birdeater. Sporting a massive leg span reaching up to 12 inches, it stands as the largest spider in the world. While its furry, colossal appearance is the stuff of nightmares, its venom is non-lethal to humans. Over in Japan, a minimalist style of theater known as rakugo has been captivating audiences for over 400 years. A single storyteller sits center stage on a small cushion, using no elaborate sets or costumes to portray multiple characters through swift voice changes and facial expressions. Using only a paper fan as a prop, the ancient art form remains a massive hit across generations. The human brain fires off more electrical impulses in a single 24-hour day than every smartphone on the planet combined. Our skulls house roughly 86 billion neurons that interlock to form trillions of synaptic pathways. Yet, despite being the most heavily scrutinized organ in modern biology, over 90% of how the brain processes data remains an absolute mystery. Finland hosts the official wife-carrying world championship, an intense annual foot race where men sprint through an obstacle course while lugging their partners upside down on their backs. The grand prize? The winning team takes home the wife's exact weight in free beer. Japan is developing gasoline made entirely from water and air. The system pulls both from the atmosphere and converts them into fuel using a specialized engine. Right now, it only produces 1 barrel a day, but they're aiming for 10,000 barrels daily by 2040. Countries with no oil could become completely energy self-sufficient. Between Egypt and Sudan, there's a piece of land called Bir Tawil that neither country wants. If Egypt claimed it, they'd lose their rights to a far more valuable territory called Halayeb. If Sudan claimed it, same problem. So both countries insist it belongs to the other. No government, no permanent population, no laws, just land sitting there, unclaimed. Humans have 3 types of sleep. Monophasic, 6 or more straight hours, the most common. Biphasic, 4 to 6 hours at night, plus an afternoon nap. Polyphasic, just 3 to 4 total hours, broken into short naps spread throughout the entire day. The absolute water speed record hasn't been broken in over 45 years. Ken Warby hit 317 miles per hour in a boat called Spirit of Australia, a vessel he built in his own backyard using plywood and a military jet engine. At that speed, water becomes nearly as hard as concrete. One small mistake and it's over. Researchers in British Columbia caught something remarkable on camera for the first time. Coastal wolves using tools to get food. A female pulled a rope tied to a crab trap, dragging it toward shore to reach the bait. First documented case of a wild wolf using tools in multiple consecutive steps. We seriously underestimated these animals. Your calf muscles act as a second heart. The gastrocnemius and soleus pump blood back up from your legs every time they contract and relax. It's called the calf muscle pump, and it's exactly why sitting for too long restricts circulation and raises the risk of vascular problems in your lower limbs. The Spear of Destiny, also known as the Lance of Longinus, is said to be the weapon used to pierce Jesus' side during the crucifixion. For centuries, emperors, kings, and conquerors hunted it, believing it granted invincible power. Today there are three versions, one in Vienna, one at the Vatican, one in Armenia. No one knows which one, if any, is real. International sanctions kept Western fast food chains out of Iran, so locals got creative. Businesses started copying logos, color schemes, and names from the originals. That's how Mashburger, Pizza Hut, and McDonald's lookalikes were born, an entire bootleg fast food culture built from economic isolation. Human chimerism is a rare condition where one person carries two completely different sets of DNA. It happens when two embryos fuse early in development, creating a single individual with genetically distinct cells throughout their body. Most people never find out until something like a paternity test gives an impossible result. Finland is rolling out wireless electricity, a system that transmits power through the air, no cables or outlets required. It works through low-frequency radio waves that charge devices directly, like citywide electrical Wi-Fi. This is exactly what Nikola Tesla imagined over 100 years ago. Your phone just charges, wherever you are. In Iran, there's a building method that uses polypropylene bags filled with concrete. Stack them in circles, compact them, wire them together. Once the concrete sets, burn the bags away. The curved roof distributes weight evenly. Total cost? About 10% of what a traditional brick house would run you. The emperor penguin has officially been reclassified as an endangered species. Climate change is destroying the sea ice in Antarctica, their only habitat. Without solid ground to raise chicks, thousands of young penguins die before growing waterproof feathers. If current melting rates hold, the population could be cut in half by 2080. China unveiled the T-Flight, a train that travels at over 620 miles per hour without passengers feeling a thing. No wheels, no rails. It floats on magnets inside a vacuum tunnel, nearly eliminating all air resistance. Speeds comparable to a commercial jet, but it never leaves the ground. Teresa Kachindamoto, a traditional leader in Malawi, dedicated her life to ending child marriage. She annulled over 3,500 marriages involving minors and pressured the government into banning marriage under 18 by law. Around the world, 12 million girls are married before their 18th birthday every year. One person, 3,500 lives changed. During World War II, a tank called the Churchill Bobbin solved one of the biggest logistical nightmares of coastal landings. It carried a giant spool at the front that unrolled a carpet of canvas and steel as it moved across the beach, giving other vehicles a solid surface to roll on instead of sinking in the sand. It was part of a series of wild military engineering solutions known as Hobart's Funnies. There's an island that switches countries every 6 months. From the 1st of February through the 31st of July, it belongs to Spain. From the 1st of August through the 31st of January, it's French. This arrangement dates back to the Treaty of the Pyrenees in 1659. The island is barely 650 feet across and is closed to the public almost year-round. In Sumba, Indonesia, hundreds of men gather on horseback to fight with real spears in a ritual called the Pasola. The goal is to shed blood on the earth as an offering to their gods. The more blood spilled, the better the harvest. The warriors are skilled, the horses are sacred, and the battle is an act of faith, not a performance, a necessity. Near Buenos Aires, a man turned a garbage dump into a medieval village. Antonio Campana built Campanopolis using salvaged demolition materials. Old doors, windows, timber, ancient stone. Today it has over 100,000 trees, an iron museum, and a wood museum. It's a popular spot for weddings and film productions, though you'll need a reservation to visit. The Veiled Lady of 1869, the Veiled Virgin of 1850, and the Veiled Truth of 1752 are all carved from a single block of marble. The detail is so extreme, lifelike skin, a thin, transparent veil that for decades, people refused to believe they were carved by hand. No seams, no layers, just stone. For 1,000 years, China protected the secret of silk by making it punishable by death to smuggle silkworms or eggs out of the country. The rest of the world paid enormous prices without ever knowing where it came from. The monopoly finally broke when a group of monks hid silkworm eggs inside their hollow walking staffs. Within decades, Europe and the Middle East were making their own silk. Elasan holds the Guinness World Record for writing the alphabet fastest with both hands behind his back. 6.59 seconds. It looks simple until you try it. The muscle memory alone takes years. And just when you think you've seen the ceiling of human ability, someone like this comes along and raises it again. Mehran Karimi Nasseri, an Iranian refugee, lived inside Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris for 18 years. It started in 1988 when he lost his documents and became trapped in a legal limbo. Couldn't enter France, couldn't travel anywhere else. Airport workers called him Sir Alfred. His story inspired Steven Spielberg's film, The Terminal, released in 2004. Homer Simpson's car, the one he designed on the show known as the Homer, was eventually built in real life. Fans reconstructed it using old cars as a base, replicating every deliberately absurd, over-engineered detail. The original design was a joke meant to be the worst car imaginable. And yet someone built it anyway, and it actually drives. Some ideas are too ridiculous not to exist. A 115-day time-lapse of a pepper plant reveals something you'd never notice in real life. The plant is in constant motion. The stem chases the light, flowers appear, then fruit. What looks completely still to us is actually moving at a speed our eyes just can't register. Nature's patience, compressed into a few seconds. Jupiter experiences eclipses almost constantly, thanks to its massive number of moons, some orbiting incredibly fast. Io, for example, completes a full lap around the planet in just 42.5 hours, triggering shadows and alignments over and over. Sometimes several eclipse events stack on top of each other. On Earth, a solar eclipse is a rare event. On Jupiter, it's just a Tuesday. Content creator George Harmony recreates full movie soundscapes using drums, his voice, and everyday objects, the art of Foley. A plastic bag, a piece of wood, a single dry thud, and your brain fills in the rest. Footsteps, a kitchen, sauce bubbling on the stove. Seeing how it's done takes away a little of the magic and replaces it with something better. Deep respect for the craft. 16th century French astrologer Nostradamus is still debated centuries later, and the reason is simple. His predictions are vague enough to be shaped around almost any event after it happens. That's why two camps have existed for hundreds of years: those who believe he predicted everything, and those who say it's all retrofitted. What it really reveals isn't prophecy. It's how desperate the human mind is to find patterns. Chang and Eng, born in 1811 in what is now Thailand, became so famous that their condition gave the world the term Siamese twins. Today we use conjoined twins, but the old label stuck for generations. They lived past 60 and raised large families, defying everything medicine and society thought was possible. Their lives also reveal how differently the world treated extraordinary people back then, as spectacle, not as human beings. Director Darren Aronofsky unveiled a series called On This Day 1776, created 100% with artificial intelligence. It tells the story of American independence across 88 short episodes, no real actors, no camera operators. If this model catches on, it could mark the beginning of an era where entire productions exist without a single human in front of. Australian artist Stellark had a human ear surgically implanted into his arm, grown from cartilage under his own skin. Not for function, not for aesthetics. As an artistic statement, the human body doesn't have to stay the way it is. New parts can go in unexpected places. It's a living work of art that challenges everything we assume about where the body ends. France developed an artificial heart called amazin, created by the company Carmat, designed to replace the human heart for years without needing a donor. It mimics the real heart's functions and adjusts blood flow based on what the body needs moment to moment. It's already been implanted in several patients across Europe. For people who don't qualify for a traditional transplant, it's not just technology, it's hope. China's iHear campus, part of Xi'an Jiaotong University, is a futuristic mega-complex built for graduate research and advanced science. Completed between 2017 and 2019, it connects over 100 research bases covering artificial intelligence, engineering, and medicine. The investment exceeded $1.5 billion. It's not just a university, it's a city designed to build the future. In the towns of Barl-Hertog and Barl-Nassau, the border between Belgium and the Netherlands cuts straight through streets, businesses, and even houses. In some cases, whichever country your front door opens into determines your taxes, your laws, and your services. Some restaurants have their kitchen in one country and their diners in another. It's the result of centuries of complicated historical agreements, and there's nowhere else on Earth quite like it. In the Siwa Desert in Egypt stands the Adrer Amelal Hotel, built entirely from Khrushchev, a local mix of mud, sand, and salt. Heavy rain could collapse the walls, but in that region rain almost never comes. 40 rooms, no electricity, no television. Kenyan engineer Roy Alela created the Sign-IO gloves after watching his deaf niece struggle to communicate. Sensors on each finger capture hand movements and send the data to an app, which translates them into spoken words in real time with adjustable voice, tone, and language. A piece of technology born not from a lab brief, but from love, and it's already changing lives. In Los Santos de Maimona, Spain, there's a house called El Capricho de Katrina, built by a self-taught bricklayer named Francisco Gonzalez Garcia as a gift for his youngest daughter. Curved walls, organic shapes, mosaics, stained glass. People compare it to the work of Antoni Gaudí, built slowly over many years entirely by hand. Today, it's one of the most photographed homes in the entire region. Chinese expert Yang tripled rice production in Nigeria through improved seeds and new cultivation techniques. His work became so strategically valuable that the Nigerian government assigned him military protection in agricultural zones controlled by armed groups. An agricultural specialist guarded like a general, proof that farming can be just as powerful as any political or military force. Xinyang Mao Jian, known as the King of Chinese green teas. It comes from Xinyang City in Henan Province and is one of the 10 most celebrated teas in China. The leaves are paper-thin, covered in tiny white hairs, and hand-picked each spring. Fresh aroma, soft but intense flavor. For centuries, it was reserved for special occasions and honored guests. Shanghai Pudong International Airport has futuristic rest capsules built for travelers stuck between long flights. Around 30 private pods sit right near the boarding gates. Half an hour costs about $5. Compact, quiet, and designed for one purpose: get you recharged before the next flight. Antarctica is technically the largest desert on Earth. It receives less annual precipitation than most hot deserts. In places like the McMurdo Dry Valleys, it almost never snows or rains. A desert isn't defined by heat, it's defined by the absence of water. And the coldest place on the planet proves that. Hang Son Doong Cave in Vietnam isn't just a cave, it's its own world. It has jungles, rivers, animals adapted to total darkness, and clouds that form inside it from the temperature difference between the air within and outside. A fully independent underground ecosystem that never sees sunlight, nature building worlds within worlds. Most people in Coober Pedy, Australia live underground. Surface temperatures can hit over 113 degrees Fahrenheit. The homes started as opal mines and evolved into full residences, bedrooms, kitchens, living rooms. There are hotels, bars, and churches carved into the rock. Below the desert floor, the temperature stays perfectly stable year-round. Denis Kachenko was born without arms and turned his feet into precision tools for painting, building, and creating. His coordination is extraordinary. He holds brushes with ease. He shares his daily process online, inspiring millions. Every brushstroke is a statement. Limits are mostly something other people try to place on you. Plank Wars takes the classic core exercise and turns it into a combat sport. Two competitors face off with one goal: make the other touch the ground without breaking your own position. You can only attack the arms. Rounds last 60 seconds, but when your muscles start shaking, that feels like an eternity. It's not just strength, it's strategy, mental endurance, and split-second reflexes. The lace bug has wings so intricate they look like stained glass from a Gothic cathedral. Every pattern is symmetrical, precise, and impossibly detailed. It's one of those creatures that makes you question whether evolution is even the right word. It looks more like the work of a master craftsman working at microscopic scale. In 1953, Robert H. Keaton patented an upgraded version of the Keaton Music typewriter, a typewriter where the keys produced musical notes, clefs, and symbols instead of letters. Before music software existed, this was cutting-edge technology for composers who needed to write sheet music fast and accurately. Mechanical engineering meets musical creation decades ahead of its time. Bats can swim. They use their wings like paddles, pushing through water with a stroke similar to a butterfly swimmer. The same chest muscles that power their flight drive them toward shore when they accidentally fall in, usually after misjudging the surface while drinking. And even young bats swim instinctively from very early on. No lessons required. Human skin is only about 1 millimeter thick, razor thin compared to other animals. A hippo's skin measures 1.5 inches. A blue whale's can reach nearly 20 inches. Yet this single thin layer protects every system in your body, regulates temperature, processes touch, and separates you from everything outside. In a full-grown adult, it can weigh between 6 and 11 pounds. The Mponeng gold mine in South Africa is the deepest mine on Earth. Workers descend over 2.5 miles in high-speed elevators, a trip that takes more than an hour. Engineers pump ice-cold slurry through the tunnels to keep temperatures survivable. Between 33 and 44 pounds of gold come out every single day, in conditions where without technology, no one would last an hour. The Red River hog might be the most striking pig on the planet. Bright rust-red fur, bold black and white markings on the face, long, elegant, tufted ears. It's a strong swimmer, active at night, and lives in organized groups with a dominant male. In private markets, one individual can sell for anywhere between $1,000 and $4,000. The Technomar for Lamborghini 63 is a yacht that looks, sounds, and feels like a supercar on water. Only 63 units were ever made. It measures 63 feet and pays tribute to 1963. Twin V12 engines produce 4,000 combined horsepower, hitting speeds up to 60 knots. Built from carbon fiber inspired directly by the Lamborghini Sian. The Flipper Zero is a cybersecurity device about the size of a toy with a pixelated dolphin face. Inside it packs antennas and sensors that interact with real-world signals: sub-gigahertz radio, NFC, RFID, and infrared. It can clone remote controls, read access cards, and act as a universal remote. In the right hands, it's a legitimate learning tool. In the wrong ones, it's a serious security threat to everyone nearby. The Melipona bee is native to tropical regions of the Americas, from Mexico all the way to Argentina, and it has no stinger. It defends itself by biting or swarming. Its honey was considered sacred by the Maya for centuries, prized for its medicinal properties and its uniquely tart, slightly acidic flavor. Instead of hexagonal honeycombs, Melipona bees build small, rounded capsules made of wax and tree resin. Wedding rings weren't always romantic. In ancient Rome, they were legal documents, visible proof that a marriage contract had been sealed. The idea of the vena amoris, a vein supposedly running directly from the ring finger to the heart, justified the finger chosen. That vein never actually existed, but the tradition stuck, and in the 9th century, the church adopted it and turned it into a sacrament. There's a packaging system that uses foam expanding in seconds. Inside the bag are two separate liquids. When they mix, a chemical reaction releases gas. The foam expands rapidly, molds itself perfectly to the shape of whatever's inside, and then hardens. The result is a custom protective shell that absorbs impact during shipping. Fragile object, any shape fully protected. The Husseini Suspension Bridge in Pakistan is considered one of the most dangerous bridges in the world. Gaps between wooden planks, frayed steel cables, and a constant sway in the wind make every single step feel like it could be your last. For locals, it's just the daily commute. For visitors, it's an extreme challenge just to make it to the other side. British artist Millie Vampini paints oil portraits so realistic, they fool the eye completely. Skin, light reflections, individual pores, all done by hand with extraordinary detail. Her hyper-realist style blurs the line between photography and painting. You have to walk up close and look carefully before you believe it's actually paint on canvas. In Amsterdam, there's a building called Silodam, a residential complex built directly over the IJ Lake. Completed in 2002, it generates all its own energy through over 23,000 square feet of solar panels. It holds 442 apartments, inside a sailing school, a water sports center, a public restaurant, and a private marina with floating gardens. Airplane windows are round for one critical safety reason. Square windows concentrate internal cabin pressure at the corners, weakening the material and causing dangerous cracks. A circular shape distributes that pressure evenly around the entire curve. In the 1950s, several fatal crashes were traced back to exactly this problem, until engineers identified it and redesigned every window in the industry. The OBI robot is changing something as basic as eating. Designed for people with limited mobility, it lets users eat independently without relying on anyone for every single bite. Its robotic arm selects food from 4 compartments and brings it directly to the user's mouth. Everything is controlled through small buttons activated by head or foot movement, built around one principle: dignity. The kookaburra's iconic laugh isn't joy, it's an aggressive territorial warning to other birds. And this bird has a brutal hunting method to match. It catches highly venomous snakes, grabs them by the neck, and beats them repeatedly against a rock until they're dead. No venom, no sharp talons, just blunt, relentless force. The most universally reported dream in the world is losing your teeth or falling into a void. Psychologically, the falling teeth dream is how the brain processes stress, loss of control, and the anxiety that comes with major life changes. A guide dog isn't trained to obey blindly. It's trained in something called intelligent disobedience. If a blind owner commands the dog to cross the street but the dog detects a silent electric car or an open manhole, it will refuse the order and physically block the owner from moving forward, saving a life by choosing not to listen. The sun isn't yellow. In open space, it's a blinding nuclear white. We see it as yellow, orange, or red because Earth's atmosphere acts as a massive filter, scattering blue and violet wavelengths and letting only the warmer tones reach our eyes. What we call sunlight is already a filtered version of something far more intense. The Andean cock of the rock has a courtship ritual that looks like a televised dance competition. Dozens of males gather in a forest clearing, sweep the ground clean of leaves, and launch into frantic, synchronized displays. The female watches from a branch above like a panel judge and picks the one with the best moves. Nature invented reality TV long before we did. When you're driving at 75 miles per hour, the white road markings look like they're about half a foot long. That's pure speed illusion. Pull over, get out, and walk up to one. Each dashed line is nearly 10 feet long. Your brain is lying to you every time you drive. Capgras syndrome is one of the most disturbing neurological failures imaginable. If you had it, you would recognize your family's faces and voices perfectly. But the part of your brain that generates emotional connection to them goes offline. Japanese cherry blossoms sakura aren't grown for fruit. The cherries are tiny and sour. They exist purely for beauty and philosophy, representing the Buddhist concept of mono no aware, the bittersweet awareness of how fleeting things are. One gust of wind and the blossoms are gone. That's the point. Life is beautiful precisely because it doesn't last. Cotard's syndrome is a rare psychological disorder in which a person genuinely believes they are dead, that they don't exist, or that they've lost their internal organs. The delusion can be so total that patients stop eating because if you're already dead, what's the point of feeding a body? It's associated with severe depression, schizophrenia, and neurological damage. Battlecart takes go-karts and turns them into a real-life video game. Dozens of projectors cast virtual items and obstacles directly onto the track surface. Drive an electric cart over a projected item, and you activate it. Take a hit and the cart physically responds by braking in real time. Every race is a constantly shifting mix of skill and strategy. It's Mario Kart, except it's actually happening. The Belgian passport hides a tribute to the country's most iconic comic characters. Its pages are illustrated with Tintin, the Smurfs, Lucky Luke, and Spirou. Most of these details only appear under ultraviolet light, a bureaucratic document that doubles as a piece of cultural art for those who know exactly where and how to look. Inside Saturn's rings, there's a tiny moon called Daphnis that creates waves and ripples in the surrounding ring material as it passes like dropping a stone into a perfectly still pond. Every orbit leaves a visible mark. The Cassini probe captured it in stunning detail, a gravitational disturbance, frozen in time, inside the most spectacular ring system in the solar system. Astronauts who spend extended time in space can't drive when they return to Earth. They have to wait at least 21 days. Microgravity weakens muscles and disrupts balance, making it genuinely dangerous to operate a vehicle right away. Their vestibular system, which handles balance and spatial orientation, needs weeks to fully recalibrate to gravity. The return to Earth is its own mission. The hua moa is a banana variety native to Polynesia and common in Hawaii. It can grow up to 10 inches long and 4 inches wide, 3 to 4 times the size of a regular banana. The flesh inside is pinkish-orange and extremely creamy. Green, it's used like a plantain for frying. A New York City law from 1916 requires buildings to step back their upper floors as they rise in height to prevent streets from being swallowed in permanent shadow. The law defines an invisible wedge-shaped boundary that extends upward from the center of the street. Every building must respect that invisible line when designing its upper floors. Egg coffee is a traditional Vietnamese drink invented in the 1940s during wartime milk shortages. At the Metropole Hotel in Hanoi, a barista replaced milk with whipped egg yolks and created something legendary. Today it's made by beating yolks, sugar, and condensed milk into a thick cream poured over strong, bitter, Robusta coffee. Futuroscope is a theme park in France and one of the most futuristic in Europe with no traditional roller coasters. Instead, massive screens, simulators, and four-dimensional experiences where you don't just watch the attraction, you live inside it. Vibration, wind, immersive sound, and hyper-realistic visuals create sensations that can't be replicated anywhere else. Plus themed hotels and large-scale nighttime light shows. The spiral ramps of San Siro Stadium in Milan create a powerful optical illusion. When thousands of people descend simultaneously in a steady flow, the brain reads that collective motion as the towers themselves rotating. The ramps were added for the 1990 World Cup and also serve as structural supports for the roof. The trick is mass synchronized movement like a barber pole, but at monumental scale. The 1997 film Titanic cost more to make than the actual ship did to build. The movie required around $200 million. The original ocean liner cost about $7.5 million in 1912, which, adjusted for inflation to 1997, comes out to roughly $113 million. Hollywood spent more sinking the ship than it cost to build it. The Sedan crater in Nevada is the largest human-made crater in the Americas. It measures about 1,300 feet across and nearly 330 feet deep. It was created in 1962 when the United States detonated an underground nuclear bomb, an experiment to see whether nuclear explosions could be used for large-scale civil engineering projects like digging canals or artificial harbors. Short spine syndrome is an extremely rare genetic condition in dogs. Affected animals are born with vertebrae that never harden into bone, they stay as cartilage. This completely alters their body structure and prevents them from turning their heads normally. Both parents must carry the gene for a puppy to be born with it. Worldwide, only about 30 living documented cases exist right now. Glacial ice turns that deep, vivid blue because of how it forms. Centuries of extreme pressure force out all the air bubbles that make ordinary ice look white and opaque. What's left is a dense, translucent mass that absorbs warm wavelengths of light and reflects only blue. The older the glacier, the deeper the blue. It looks almost too beautiful to be real. Three-dimensional bioprinting of human ears is already a medical reality for treating microtia. First, the healthy ear is scanned and mirrored. Then cartilage cells are taken from the patient, multiplied, and mixed with bioink. The printer lays down layer after layer until the complete ear takes shape. Once implanted, the scaffold material dissolves and the tissue grows as if it were always there. An animated short film called The Impact of Warming on the Arctic was made entirely in stop motion using actual ice as the primary material. The team raced against melting, constantly controlling temperature, and rebuilding set pieces. It took nearly a year to complete just 1 minute of footage. The visual result and the environmental message made every second of that effort worth it. Dive watches go through extreme testing before they ever reach the market. They're placed in pressurized chambers simulating deep water conditions, while an automated mechanism repeatedly pushes every button and activates every function. This verifies that not a single drop of water gets in under pressure during real use. The level of precision behind what looks like a simple watch is extraordinary. Astronaut Reed Wiseman captured stunning images of Earth during the Artemis II mission using nothing but an iPhone. The fact that a commercial smartphone can produce images like that from space is a reflection of how far camera technology has come. What once required thousands of dollars in specialized equipment now fits in a pocket and produces results that are genuinely breathtaking. YouTuber Jesser built a 43 basketball hoop installation hoops, stacked one below the other, designed for a single ball to pass through every single one in one throw. A shot from behind the three-point line in that system scores 129 points. If he launches 8 balls simultaneously, the total score hits 1,032. The experiment took weeks of planning and adjustments to pull off. Dinosaur parks in Taiwan have reached a genuinely unsettling level of realism. Their animatronic creatures are so detailed and move so fluidly that they disturb many visitors. Scales, textures, breathing motion, and sound make the experience almost hypnotic. These aren't static statues, they look alive. It completely redefines what a dinosaur theme park can be. Artist David Koch uses his own skin as a canvas, embroidering portraits and memories directly into the palm of his hand. He works only in the surface layer of the epidermis, so the sensation is subtle like a light scratch. He removes the threads afterward, but the mark stays for a while. Like certain memories that don't fade easily, high-sea rescue trainers use intense simulators that recreate real conditions of a storm at sea. These simulators replicate what an actual shipwreck would feel like, so rescuers react automatically when every second determines whether someone lives or dies. training that turns panic into muscle memory. The QWERTY keyboard was designed in 1873, and contrary to popular belief, it was not built to slow typists down. Early typewriters jammed when adjacent keys were pressed too quickly in succession, so the most commonly used letters were spread apart to prevent that. We no longer need that design, but global habit has kept it alive for over 150 years. Lake Baikal in Russia is the deepest freshwater lake on Earth, reaching over 5,300 feet at its deepest point. It holds roughly 20% of all the unfrozen liquid fresh water on the entire planet. It's over 25 million years old and home to more than 1,700 species, the vast majority found nowhere else on Earth. Sweden has a word with no direct English translation, lagom. It describes the art of having exactly enough, not too much, not too little. It's a cultural principle that shapes everything from home design to workplace decisions to social behavior. For Swedes, lagom isn't mediocrity, it's conscious balance. A philosophy the rest of the world has started taking seriously. Octopuses have 3 hearts. 2 pump blood through the gills to oxygenate it. The third distributes it through the rest of the body. Their blood is blue because it uses copper-based hemocyanin instead of iron-based hemoglobin. And when an octopus swims actively, that main heart stops, which exhausts them quickly. That's why they prefer crawling over swimming. The saltwater crocodile is the largest reptile on Earth, exceeding 20 feet in length and over 2,200 pounds. Despite its prehistoric appearance, it's an extraordinarily efficient hunter with a bite force of nearly 3,700 pounds, the most powerful bite of any living animal ever recorded. It lives in the estuaries and coastal regions of Southeast Asia and northern Australia. The Hope Diamond is one of the most famous gemstones in the world. It weighs 45.5 carats and has a rare deep blue color caused by trace boron impurities in its crystal structure. Centuries of history connected to deaths, financial ruin, and curses among its owners. Today it's on display at the National Museum of Natural History in Washington, one of the most visited objects in the world. On the coast of Namibia, the Skeleton Coast is home to over 1,000 shipwrecks buried in the sand along miles of shoreline. Ocean currents and constant fog make this one of the most treacherous stretches of water in the world for navigation. Ships that wreck here can't be rescued, the sea won't allow it. They stay there, swallowed slowly by the dunes. In Japan, there's a practice called kintsugi, repairing broken objects with gold, silver, or platinum, making the fractures visible instead of hiding them. The philosophy holds that the breaks are part of the object's history, and that repairing them with precious metal makes them more beautiful. A powerful metaphor for human resilience. The idea that the scars of a life lived are what make us more valuable, not less. The underground city of Derinkuyu in Turkey was carved roughly 3,000 years ago and could shelter up to 20,000 people. It has 8 subterranean levels with rooms, stables, churches, wine cellars, and ventilation shafts. Its circular stone doors, which could only be closed from the inside, made enemy entry essentially impossible. Used as a refuge during invasions, today it's one of the most extraordinary archaeological sites on Earth. The human body contains roughly 37 trillion cells, but there are more bacteria in the gut alone than there are human cells in the entire body. This bacterial community, called the microbiome, weighs between 2 and 4.5 pounds and has a direct influence on health, mood, immune function, and even food preferences. In terms of sheer organism count, we're more bacteria than human. In Oaxaca, Mexico, stands the widest tree in the world, the Árbol del Tule, an ajihuahete tree over 2,000 years old. Its trunk measures nearly 190 feet in circumference. It would take more than 30 people holding hands to wrap around it. For years, people assumed it was multiple fused trees. Genetic analysis confirmed it's a single living organism. The debate over which river is the longest in the world is still unresolved. The Nile has historically held the title at roughly 4,130 miles, but recent studies suggest the Amazon could surpass it if measured from its most remote Andean sources. The answer depends on the measurement method and exactly where you define each river's starting point. Humpback whales compose complex songs that can last for hours, and they evolve over time. Every male in the same region sings the exact same song, and they collectively modify it over months. Scientists still don't fully understand how they coordinate these synchronized changes in melody. It remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in animal behavior. The world's most expensive coffee is Kopi Luwak from Indonesia, which can cost up to $315 a pound. It's produced from coffee beans that are eaten and passed through the digestive system of the Asian palm civet, a small, cat-like mammal. During digestion, enzymes ferment the beans and transform their flavor profile. It's controversial for animal welfare reasons, but demand has never dropped. Thunder can travel up to 25 miles from where lightning strikes. Since sound moves at roughly 1,100 feet per second, we see the flash almost instantly, but the boom arrives later. Count the seconds between the flash and the thunder, divide by 5, and you get the approximate distance in miles. Simple physics available to anyone caught in a storm. Pi has been calculated to over 100 trillion decimal places without finding a repeating pattern. It's an irrational number that goes on infinitely, never cycling back. Mathematicians and students memorize it recreationally. The world record is over 70,000 digits held by a single person. Despite all the computing power thrown at it, its exact nature remains one of the great unsolved mysteries in mathematics. Moonquakes last far longer than earthquakes. A terrestrial earthquake might last seconds or minutes. A moonquake can go on for hours. The moon has no water and no active tectonic plates to absorb the vibrations. Apollo 11 recorded one that lasted over an hour, an outcome that completely caught the astronauts off guard. The Pirahan language of the Brazilian Amazon is the only known language with no numbers, no specific color terms, and no concept of past or future tense. Linguists have been debating its implications for language theory for decades. It fundamentally challenges the assumption that certain concepts are universal across all human cultures, regardless of geography or environment. Bhutan is the only country that measures gross national happiness instead of gross domestic product. It bans tobacco sales, limits tourism to protect its culture and environment, and requires by constitutional law that 90% of its territory remain forested. This small Himalayan kingdom has one of the lowest carbon footprints on the planet and some of the happiest people. Snails have between 14,000 and 20,000 microscopic teeth, called radula, arranged in rows on a rasping tongue-like structure. They use them to scrape and grind the plants they eat, and the tooth of the limpet snail is the strongest known biological material in nature, harder than Kevlar and stronger than any spider silk. Tiny animal, extraordinary engineering. Déjà vu, that strange feeling that you've already lived this exact moment, is still poorly understood by neuroscience. The leading theory is that it happens when there's a timing mismatch between the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex, creating the illusion that a new experience has already been stored. It's more common in young people, in tired people, and in certain types of epilepsy, and it decreases noticeably with age. In parts of Asia, floating markets have operated for centuries. Vendors paddle small boats loaded with fruit, vegetables, and ready-to-eat food. Buyers pull up in their own boats to negotiate and buy. Still fully functional today in Thailand, Vietnam, and Bangladesh, places where water is as much a part of daily life as any road. The Arctic holds the most secure archive on Earth. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault, built into a mountain in Norway. Inside, over 1,300,000 seed samples from plants around the world are stored at -4 degrees Fahrenheit. It was created to protect global plant biodiversity against any catastrophe. The largest insurance policy ever written for the future of humanity. Dubai's spice souk has been operating for over 200 years. Its corridors overflow with cinnamon, saffron, cardamom, and black pepper in quantities that perfume the air from yards away. The saffron sold there can cost over $1,300 a pound, one of the most expensive spices in the world, thanks to the painstaking manual harvesting process behind every single gram. The Antarctic Marathon is the most extreme long-distance race on Earth. Runners face temperatures that can drop to -4 degrees Fahrenheit, winds exceeding 30 miles per hour, and irregular ice surfaces underfoot. Every year, dozens of athletes from around the world pay thousands of dollars just for the right to enter. Not to win, just to finish. Humans are the only animals capable of throwing objects with both precision and force. This ability, developed roughly 2 million years ago, requires a unique combination of shoulder, elbow, wrist, and finger coordination that no other primate has to the same degree. Researchers believe it was critical for hunting and defense. Japan has a concept called kodawari, an obsessive devotion to perfection in everyday activities. From origami to the simplest bowl of ramen, many Japanese people dedicate years to mastering a single aspect of their craft. This is why Japan has ramen restaurants that have been serving one single dish for 100 years, with absolute mastery and zero compromise. An octopus brain has roughly the same number of neurons as a dog's brain, but more than half of those neurons aren't in the central brain at all. They're distributed across its 8 arms. Each arm can act semi-autonomously, making its own decisions without checking in with the main brain. A completely different neurological architecture from any other known animal on Earth. Ethiopia runs on a completely different calendar from the rest of the world. 13 months, 12 months of 30 days each, plus a 13th month of just 5 or 6 days. And it runs about 7 to 8 years behind the Western calendar. That's why Ethiopians celebrated the year 2000 in what the rest of us called 2008. It creates some administrative headaches, but also genuine cultural pride in a tradition thousands of years old. The stick insect is one of nature's greatest illusionists. It can stay completely motionless for hours, looking like nothing more than a dead twig. Some species reproduce without males entirely through a process called parthenogenesis. Their mimicry is so perfect that predators ignore them even when looking directly at them. Over 3,000 species have been cataloged, and many are kept as exotic pets purely for how bizarre they look. The Great Wall of China is not visible from space with the naked eye, no matter what your old textbook said. Astronauts and cosmonauts have confirmed this repeatedly. Seeing it from orbit would require visual resolution about 100 times sharper than human eyes can achieve. One of the most persistent myths in modern history, still showing up in school curricula around the world despite being debunked over and over. The deep-sea hatchetfish produces its own bioluminescent light. It lives between roughly 650 and nearly 2,000 feet below the surface and uses light-producing organs along its belly to match the faint glow filtering down from above. This counter-illumination trick makes it nearly invisible to predators lurking below. Biology and optical physics working together in perfect evolutionary harmony. The Sword of Damocles comes from a story told in the 4th century BCE. A courtier named Damocles so admired the power of King Dionysius that the king offered to swap roles for a day. When Damocles sat on the throne, he looked up and found a razor-sharp sword hanging over his head, held in place by a single strand of horsehair. The message was simple: power always comes with constant danger. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, there's a point called Point Nemo, the most remote location on Earth. It's over 1,600 miles from the nearest coastline in every direction. So remote that the closest human beings at any given moment are often the astronauts aboard the International Space Station passing overhead. NASA also uses it as a graveyard for decommissioned satellites and spacecraft. Sudoku isn't Japanese. It was invented in 1979 by an American architect named Howard Garnes, under the boring name number place based on a Swiss mathematician's work from the 1700s. Japan discovered it in the 80s, gave it an exotic name, and made it a global phenomenon. In winter, horses don't need blankets in the snow. They have a tiny muscle at the base of every single hair. In extreme cold, those hairs stand up and lock together, trapping body heat so perfectly that snow can pile up on a horse's back without ever melting. Your odds of dying in a car crash are 1 in 107. In a plane, 1 in 11 million. On the road, you pass other drivers inches away at 60 miles an hour. In the air, planes are legally required to stay at least 1,000 feet apart vertically and 3 miles apart horizontally. A near-accidental collision is basically impossible. If you're standing on a cliff and see the ocean waves forming a giant checkerboard grid pattern, do not get in the water. That's what happens when two distant wind systems push waves at 90-degree angles. Beneath that hypnotic grid, chaotic, lethal rip currents form powerful enough to capsize entire boats in seconds. The binturong is an Asian mammal that looks like a cross between a bear and a black cat, and it has one of the most unmistakable smells in nature. Its urine contains the exact same chemical molecule released when you roast popcorn. Walk past one at a zoo, and you'll swear someone just buttered a fresh bag. Dachshunds aren't shaped that way for looks. Their name in German literally means badger hunter. The long body and short legs are built to fit inside narrow burrows. The wide chest allows them to breathe underground. The loose skin protects against roots and rocks, and that thick tail, it was a handle for hunters to yank them out when they got stuck. When a zipper gets stuck and you yank it hard, you permanently wreck it by bending the metal teeth out of alignment. The industrial physics trick: rub a pencil tip over the stuck teeth. Graphite is a high-tech solid lubricant. It makes the zipper glide free without wetting the fabric or leaving a single mark. The 4 minarets of the Taj Mahal look perfectly straight, but they're actually built leaning slightly outward. This was intentional engineering. If a devastating earthquake hit, the towers would fall away into the gardens instead of crushing the central dome where the tomb sits. Architects still consider the Taj Mahal the pinnacle of human geometry. Mongooses don't kill king cobras just through speed. They've genetically mutated the nerve receptors in their cells so that if a cobra bites them and injects its lethal neurotoxin, the venom simply bounces off without doing a thing. For a mongoose, getting bitten by a king cobra feels exactly like being injected with water. We think of lions as the ultimate hunters, but they fail 80% of their attacks. The serval, a sleek wild cat from the African savanna, succeeds nearly 50% of the time, one of the highest rates among all felines. Its massive parabolic ears can detect the heartbeat of a mouse buried a yard underground. When a horse runs at full speed, it doesn't sweat clear liquid like humans do. It produces a protein called latherin that acts like a detergent, breaking down the surface tension of sweat and turning it into thick white foam. That foam penetrates the horse's dense coat and cools it down far faster as it evaporates through the skin. Solitary confinement cells in many maximum security prisons are painted a specific shade called Baker-Miller pink. That's not a design choice, it's science. Research proved that staring at this color physically lowers heart rate and drains muscle strength. An aggressive inmate literally loses the physical ability to fight after just 15 minutes in a room that color. The stonefish is the most venomous fish on Earth, camouflaged perfectly to look like a rock covered in algae. The real danger at the beach: it can absorb oxygen through its skin. When the tide goes out, this fish can sit on dry sand in direct sunlight for an entire day, without dying, just waiting for someone to step on it barefoot. The tip of an elephant's trunk contains millions of chemical and touch receptors connected to the Jacobson's organ in its palate. When an elephant touches another's forehead or mouth, it's reading hormones. In 1 second of skin contact, it can tell exactly whether that individual is stressed, sick, scared, or ready to mate. The Golden Gate Bridge was never supposed to be that iconic orange red. The US Navy demanded it be painted in black and yellow warning stripes. The orange was just cheap rust prevention primer used during construction. If you freeze salt water at home, you get salty ice. But at the poles, the physics is completely different. Ocean ice forms so slowly that the freezing crystals actually push the salt molecules out into the liquid water below. If you melted a piece of ocean iceberg in a glass, the water would be 100% fresh and drinkable. Sea urchins are hiding a nightmare mouth under all those spines. They have 5 triangular bone plates that work as teeth called Aristotle's lantern. These teeth self-sharpen and are hard enough to chew through solid rock on the ocean floor, carving out holes in limestone where the urchin hides from storms and predators. The famous German castle that inspired Disney looks like a medieval fortress, but it's a fake, built in the late 1800s by King Ludwig II as a theatrical backdrop inspired by Wagner's operas. Despite looking ancient from the outside, the interior was cutting-edge tech, central heating, automatic toilets, and telephone lines throughout. Unlike lions, tigers, or domestic cats, cheetahs cannot retract their claws. They're always exposed and worn down because they're not for tearing meat. They work exactly like the metal cleats on an Olympic sprinter's shoes. They dig into the ground for absolute traction, keeping the cheetah from sliding out at 70 miles an hour. Black widow venom is 15 times more potent per gram than a rattlesnake's. Its neurotoxin targets muscle nerves, causing abdominal cramps so intense that victims think they're having appendicitis. Yet almost no one dies from a bite. The spider is so small it injects a microscopic amount, not enough to kill a healthy adult. Humans are the only animal on Earth that cries from sadness or joy. Our emotional tears have a unique chemical makeup. They contain leucine, enkephalin, a natural painkiller, and cortisol, the stress hormone. When you cry from pain or grief, you are literally flushing stress chemicals out of your bloodstream through your eyes. When GPS fails at sea, ships don't use magnetic compasses because Earth's magnetic north constantly shifts. They use gyro compasses, massive precision motors with a heavy spinning disc rotating at thousands of revolutions per minute. Thanks to gyroscopic inertia and Earth's own rotation, when water hits a gray t-shirt, it turns darker even though water is completely transparent. Dry fabric is full of tiny air pockets that scatter light in every direction. When wet, water fills those pockets, trapping light inside the fabric so far less bounces back to your eyes. Your brain reads that as a darker color. Andorra is the only country in the world that is a parliamentary co-principality. Its 2 heads of state are always the Spanish Bishop of Urgel and the President of France. That means Emmanuel Macron is technically, by law, the Prince of Andorra ruling a country he's not a citizen of and has never permanently lived in. The Chinese water deer has no antlers. Evolution took away the rack and replaced it with 2 long, sharp fangs that hang out of its mouth like a tiny Dracula. When males fight over a female, they don't clash heads, they slash each other in the neck and shoulders with those impressive bone sabers. The arapaima is one of the largest freshwater fish in the world, up to 10 feet long. Because it lives in oxygen-depleted swamp water, it evolved a primitive lung and must surface to breathe air every 15 minutes or it drowns. Its scales have a collagen structure so perfectly engineered, they work like natural body armor, letting it swim through piranha-infested water without a scratch. Doctors say it constantly and people keep ignoring it. Your ears have a self-cleaning spiral mechanism that pushes wax outward on its own. Every time you stick a cotton swab in, you push the remaining wax deeper toward the eardrum, compacting it like a cement wall, which leads to progressive, irreversible hearing loss over time. Before flat screens, tube televisions were literally particle accelerators sitting in your living room. At the back of every set was an electromagnetic cannon firing a real beam of electrons directly at your face. The only thing stopping that radiation from hitting your eyes was a thick pane of glass manufactured with lead to absorb the atomic impacts. Starbucks tables aren't round for aesthetics, it's pure psychology. The brand's research showed that when someone sits alone at a square table, the empty corners facing them trigger feelings of isolation. A round table has no empty sides, tricking the solo customer's brain into feeling comfortable and staying longer to spend more money. Tigers have large white spots on the back of their ears, ringed in black, that serve two purposes. From behind, they look like two wide-open eyes, warning off leopards and bears that might attack from the rear. And in dense, dark jungle, those spots act like reflective beacons, so their cubs can follow close without losing sight of them. The average person sweats up to 50 gallons of fluid per year while sleeping. Mattresses absorb a huge chunk of that moisture, along with pounds of dead skin cells, which is why old mattresses get heavier and develop those yellow stains that never come out. Experts recommend replacing your mattress roughly every 10 years to avoid a genuinely unsanitary buildup. Norway's Lardal Tunnel is nearly 15 miles long, a 20-minute drive through total darkness. That kind of sustained blackout causes claustrophobia and lethal drowsiness. To fight it, engineers built 3 enormous caverns inside the tunnel, bathed in powerful blue and yellow lights, tricking drivers' brains into perceiving a sunrise and resetting their attention from scratch. 90% of premature skin aging, wrinkles, dark spots is caused by the sun. The damage is cumulative. Your skin has memory, and every sunburn you got as a kid permanently damaged the DNA in your cells. Sunscreen is literally a shield preventing ultraviolet rays from breaking your cellular genetic code and stacking up irreparable damage. The real AI revolution isn't chatbots, it's biotechnology. AlphaFold cracked the 3-dimensional structures of 200 million proteins in a matter of months, a task that used to take scientists years for a single protein. Now it's pinpointing the exact mathematical weak spots in viruses to engineer the perfect drug to destroy them. A double chin doesn't always come from weight gain or aging. The area under the jaw is held up by a thin muscle called the platysma. Spending 6 hours a day hunched over a phone screen shortens and weakens that muscle. Once it loses tension and elasticity like a worn-out rubber band, the soft tissue and skin simply give way to gravity, creating premature double chins in young people. Raspberries have a hollow center because when you pull a ripe one off the plant, it slides cleanly away from its white core, leaving the fruit like a little cup. Blackberries from the same family work the opposite way. The core breaks and stays inside the fruit when picked. Despite looking almost identical, they're structurally completely different. Peacocks don't just fan out their feathers to impress females. Those feathers are covered in circular eye patterns called ocelli. When a predator approaches, the peacock snaps the tail open and vibrates it violently. To the predator, a monster just appeared out of nowhere with 100 blinking eyes, staring directly at it, and it runs. The Statue of Liberty isn't standing still, she's walking. Her right foot is lifted off the ground, mid-stride, stepping forward and breaking a set of thick iron chains scattered at her feet, symbolizing the escape from slavery. Almost no one knows this because the view from the base is virtually never shown in the images most people see. If you brush your teeth too hard or use a firm bristle brush, you're doing permanent damage to your gums. Unlike skin, which heals after a scrape, gum tissue cannot regenerate vertically. Once you wear away even a millimeter of gum through friction, exposing the root of the tooth, that millimeter is gone for the rest of your life. The new Cathedral of Salamanca took 2 centuries to build, starting in the 1500s, and if you look closely at the door of Ramos, you'll find an astronaut carved into the stone, helmet and gravity boots and all. No ancient aliens. It's a builder's tradition. During major restorations, architects are allowed to add one contemporary element to sign their work. This one was added in 1992. The Australian dingo cannot bark. It communicates through howls and strange sounds that almost resemble sneezes. But here's the wild part. Its wrist can rotate in ways completely impossible for a domestic dog, and its neck has a double joint. That means dingoes can grip objects with their paws, turn door handles, and climb trees almost like cats. There's a blood type so rare that scientists call it golden blood. Only about 40 people on Earth have it. They completely lack all Rh antigens, making them perfect universal donors who can save virtually anyone. But it's also a curse if they ever need a transfusion themselves. The only compatible donors are those same 39 other people scattered across the entire planet. Reheating a peeled, hard-boiled egg in the microwave is a trap. The inside can build up enormous steam pressure with nowhere to go. The moment you bite into it, that pressure releases all at once and the egg explodes inside your mouth. Basic physics of superheated steam. Almost nobody knows about it until they experience it firsthand in the worst possible way. Everyone assumes the famous bronze Christopher Columbus statue on Las Ramblas in Barcelona is pointing majestically westward toward America. Pull out a compass and you'll find his finger is actually pointing south, directly toward the island of Majorca and the coast of Africa. The sculptor did it intentionally so he'd face the vast open ocean, not the city's shopping district. In southern Africa, yellow mongooses don't dig their own burrows. They're peaceful squatters, living in perfect symbiosis with meerkats and ground squirrels, sharing the same tunnel systems like one big underground family. They never fight because they eat completely different things. Insects versus seeds. The result is a round-the-clock, multi-species neighborhood watch. With trains use steel wheels because rubber car tires are soft, they flatten against the asphalt to grip, which creates enormous friction and burns massive amounts of energy. A polished steel wheel on a polished steel rail barely deforms at all. The friction is almost nothing. That's how a single locomotive can pull thousands of tons of cargo using a fraction of the energy per mile. New Zealand's Kia is an alpine parrot of terrifying intelligence that has absolutely no fear of humans. Its favorite hobby in mountain parking lots, ripping off tourists' windshield wipers and chewing through door seals. In groups, they've been documented attacking live sheep on mountainsides to eat the fat off their backs. A parrot. Instant noodles aren't wavy because it looks good in the bowl. It's pure cooking physics. The zigzag shape creates tiny air pockets throughout the solid brick. When you pour in boiling water, it floods every gap instantly, cooking the noodles in just 3 minutes. If they were straight, they'd fuse into one solid, inedible brick of dough. When you tilt your head down to look at your phone, your head doesn't weigh its normal 11 pounds anymore. Thanks to basic lever physics, a 60-degree neck tilt puts roughly 60 pounds of pressure on your cervical vertebrae. Over time, this is creating an entire generation with herniated discs in their mid-20s, one of the most common and silent injuries of the modern age. Red was chosen for traffic lights not because of the psychology of danger, but because of pure physics. Red has the longest wavelength in the visible spectrum. That means it cuts through fog, rain, and dust far better than green or yellow without scattering. In a severe storm, red is the only color you'll be able to see from over 1,500 feet away. We always picture crocodiles as slow, lumbering creatures, but species like the Cuban crocodile and the Australian freshwater croc can actually rear up on all 4 legs and gallop across dry land in bounding leaps when chasing prey or fleeing danger. They can hit nearly 12 miles an hour. You can't throw away old cables, and there's a psychological reason for that. The moment a person owns an object, the brain assigns it an emotional value higher than its actual worth. Tossing that cable activates the same brain region that processes the pain of losing real money. So you stuff it in a drawer just in case, forever. A rhinoceros has such terrible eyesight that at 100 feet it genuinely cannot tell if what's in front of it is a tree or an SUV. To compensate, they live in symbiosis with oxpeckers, small black birds that ride on their backs. Their real job is to be an alarm system. The eucalyptus leaves koalas eat are genuinely toxic, loaded with cyanide and phenols. That massive black nose is packed with millions of specialized receptors that work like a high-precision chemical scanner. Before biting into a leaf, a koala sniffs it to calculate exactly how much poison it contains and decide whether it can handle that particular leaf. Those perfect black olives you get from a can for your pizza are a complete fraud. They're harvested fully green and hard. In the factory, they're bathed in caustic soda, blasted with compressed air to oxidize them, and then dyed artificially black using ferrous gluconate. They have absolutely nothing to do with naturally ripened black olives from an actual tree. Even if you only swim in your backyard pool 10 times a year, the water evaporates daily. The filter system runs on heavy electricity for up to 8 hours a day. The chemicals aren't cheap. Keeping a standard pool clean and functional costs the average homeowner between $1,100 and $1,700 a year. You're paying hundreds of dollars per swim. That sudden violent jerk you feel in bed right as you're falling asleep is called a hypnic jerk. It happens when you're exhausted or extremely stressed. Your breathing and heart rate drop so fast that your brain panics, decides you must be dying, and fires an electric jolt through every muscle in your body to wake you up and save you from what it reads as a life-threatening situation. The mortar holding together the bricks of the Great Wall of China is literally food. Ming Dynasty builders mixed slaked lime with a thick, sticky, glutinous rice soup. The amylopectin in the rice created a mortar so absurdly strong that hundreds of years later, in many sections of the wall, weeds still cannot grow between the bricks. Between Belgium and the Netherlands sits the village of Barl-Hertog, an administrative nightmare. The international border isn't a line. It's a medieval patchwork of land parcels that cuts directly through bars, restaurants, and even beds. You can be cooking dinner in Belgium while your partner watches TV on the couch in the Netherlands inside the exact same house. Sardinia is a blue zone with one of the highest concentrations of centenarians on Earth. The secret isn't just pecorino cheese and red wine. It's the rugged geography of the Barbagia region. To buy bread or visit a neighbor, elderly residents climb steep hills every single day doing intense, involuntary cardio straight through their 100th year of life. The automatic soap dispenser is not filming you. It works with an active infrared sensor that fires an invisible beam of light straight down at all times. When you place your hand underneath, your skin physically interrupts that beam and bounces it back upward. A small receiver detects the reflected light, closes the electrical circuit, and triggers the pump motor. That's it. A grizzly bear can flip rocks weighing over 650 pounds. The secret isn't in its paws, it's in its back. That massive hump behind the neck isn't fat like a camel's. It's a solid block of pure muscle anchored directly to the shoulder blades and spine, engineered by evolution for one purpose: to generate terrifying force with every single movement of its arms. Bears spend 5 months in winter without eating, drinking, urinating, or defecating. If a human did this, they'd die of their own toxic waste. A bear's body hacks its own biology. It breaks down urea, the toxic component of urine, and converts the resulting nitrogen into new proteins. In academies like those in England, of the 1.5 million children playing organized youth soccer, only about 180 will ever sign a Premier League contract. That's a success rate of 0.012%. Statistically, you have a better shot at getting struck by lightning. Shelters use the 3-3-3 rule for traumatized rescue dogs. The dog needs 3 days just to stop panicking and lower its cortisol. 3 weeks to learn that your home has safe routines. 3 months to begin producing oxytocin and form a real bond. When you adopt an abused dog, you are literally rewiring its brain chemistry, but it takes time and relentless consistency. A lot of people bolt a spoiler onto their car thinking it makes them faster. It does the opposite. A spoiler works exactly like an airplane wing in reverse. Instead of generating lift, It pushes the car down against the road, which improves grip through high-speed corners, but on a highway it creates so much drag it slows the car down and sends fuel consumption through the roof. Surgeons no longer operate with their hands alone. Machines like the Da Vinci robot take over. If the surgeon's hand trembles even a couple of millimeters from nerves or fatigue, the computer cancels that tremor before it ever reaches the robotic arm. The machine also projects augmented reality neon colors overlaid directly onto the patient's blood vessels on screen. The secret behind Iberian ham that melts on your tongue is its fat. During the Montanera season, 100% Iberian pigs eat so many pounds of acorns that the genetic structure of their fat completely transforms. It becomes saturated with oleic acid, the exact same compound found in extra virgin olive oil. That's why Iberian ham glistens. A leaf blower runs on an unfiltered two-stroke engine. One study found that running one for just 30 minutes emits the same amount of toxic gases and hydrocarbon particles as driving a van from Texas to Alaska over 3,700 miles. It is one of the most polluting tools available for everyday consumer use on the open market. Not all of a spider web is sticky. The spider first weaves the main structural frame using completely dry silk. Then it adds the concentric spiral rings using silk soaked in biological adhesive. When it runs to eat a trapped insect, it walks on tiptoe exclusively along the dry threads. And on the tips of its legs, it has a special oily coating and micro hooks so it never accidentally gets stuck in its own trap. The smell people associate with the elderly isn't poor hygiene. Starting around age 40, the human body begins naturally breaking down fatty acids in the skin and starts releasing a chemical molecule called 2-nonenal. This molecule is not water-soluble, meaning no matter how many showers a person takes, the scent will come back within minutes. Street pigeons are not wild urban animals, they're rock doves. Humans domesticated them 5,000 years ago for postal communication, selectively breeding them to reproduce constantly and always return to their home roost. When the telegraph was invented, we abandoned them. They thrive in cities because we literally engineered them, biologically, to have no fear of concrete. Compare a photo of a hospital from 1900 to one today, and they look nothing alike. Compare a classroom from 1900 to one today, and they're nearly identical. The education model was designed in the 19th century to prepare children for factory work. Sit in rows, stay silent, obey the teacher, and move only when a bell rings, just like shift workers on a floor. The Japanese custom of removing shoes at the door isn't just spiritual respect, it's architectural survival. Traditional Japanese homes have floors lined with tatami, mats woven from braided rice straw. Japan is intensely humid in summer. If you walk through a Spanish forest, you might spot an animal that looks like a cross between a cat and a small spotted leopard with a ringed tail. It's not a feline at all, it's a viverrid from the mongoose family. It was brought to the Iberian Peninsula by Romans or Arabs from Africa, and for centuries it was the official house pet of the nobility. A pearl doesn't come from a grain of sand. What actually gets inside an oyster is usually a parasite or a worm trying to eat it. Since the oyster has no way to remove it, it activates its immune system and begins secreting layer after layer of lustrous coating over the intruder, slowly suffocating and burying it alive. The luxury jewel around your neck is the ornate tomb of a dead parasite. When you walk across a massive bridge and feel it swaying and shaking, that's not a flaw, that movement is what keeps you alive. If the bridge were built completely rigid like a stone wall, the raw energy from wind or an earthquake would shatter the steel instantly. Bridges are mathematically engineered to flex, deliberately absorbing kinetic energy by moving on purpose. Everyone assumes Moscow's Red Square is named after the color of its walls or Soviet communism. The real answer is purely linguistic. In Old Russian, the word krasnaya meant beautiful. The square was originally named the Beautiful Square. Over centuries, the language evolved and that same word shifted to mean the color red, and the name quietly changed with it. Those gorgeous 1950s Chevrolets you see in Cuba are a perfectly maintained illusion. Because of the US embargo, no original spare parts ever came in. From the outside, they're classic American cars. Pop the hood and you'll find a Frankenstein monster. Russian tractor engines, gearboxes from modern Hyundais, and components held together with wire and homemade glue. Giraffes have some of the largest eyes of any land mammal, the size of billiard balls. Perched nearly 17 feet up, those eyes give them almost 360-degree vision across the savanna, spotting lions from miles away. And those long eyelashes aren't decorative, they're touch sensors that trigger the eye to snap shut before an acacia thorn can pierce it while the giraffe is feeding. Most people mix up Botox and hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is a gel that physically fills and plumps the lip. Botox fills nothing. The lip flip treatment involves injecting a microdose into the muscle above the mouth. That muscle relaxes, the lip rolls slightly outward and upward, and suddenly looks fuller without a single drop of added volume. In countries like Germany and Norway, throwing a plastic bottle in the trash is literally throwing money away. When you buy a drink, you pay a small deposit of around 25 cents. Afterward, you feed the empty bottle into a machine at the supermarket. It scans the shape and barcode, crushes it, and prints you a voucher with your money back. The result? Plastic recycling rates approaching 95%. When you squeeze a tube of toothpaste, the red, white, and blue stripes come out perfectly intact. That's a principle of fluid physics called rheology. Each paste has the exact same density and viscosity. Inside the tube, they sit in cylindrical compartments. Because the mixture is so thick, it flows to the nozzle without generating any turbulence, keeping the stripes perfectly separated all the way to the brush. When you click the "I'm not a robot" checkbox online, the website couldn't care less about the click itself. What the code is secretly analyzing is how your mouse moved in the second before you clicked. A bot moves the cursor in a mathematically perfect straight line. Humans have imperceptible microtremors in their hands. That tiny shake is our biological signature proof that something alive is on the other end. When you lose 22 pounds of fat, you exhale about 18.5 pounds of it through your mouth as carbon dioxide. The remaining 3.5 pounds turn into water that leaves through sweat and urine. Most people think fat burns off as pure energy or sweats out during exercise. The truth is, your fat literally disappears into the air you breathe out. Thailand's Yipeng Festival, thousands of paper lanterns floating into the night sky, is one of the most gorgeous photos on the internet. The reality behind it, the Thai government has to shut down airspace, close the international airport, and cancel hundreds of commercial flights because burning paper is sucked into jet engines and starts fires on rooftops across the city. When a physical therapist presses into a muscle knot and you feel instant relief, they're not kneading the muscle like dough. A knot is a zone of sustained spasm. The pressure physically collapses blood flow to that point. When the pressure releases, the brain resets, fresh blood floods back in, and the central nervous system is forced to shut the spasm down. Poke bowls cost a fortune today, but in Hawaii, this was working-class fisherman food. After a long reef shift, they'd take the leftover tuna scraps they couldn't sell, cut them into rough chunks, rub them with sea salt and shoreline seaweed to cure the fish, and eat it standing up right there on the dock. No garnish, no aesthetic, no price tag. Look at the metal plug on your headphone jack and you'll see thin black rings acting as insulators. 2 rings means stereo separate audio signals going to each ear. 3 rings means there's an extra electrical track, dedicated exclusively to carrying your voice signal back through the built-in microphone. About 370 miles beneath the Earth's surface, deep in the mantle, there's a blue mineral called ringwoodite. Trapped inside its crystal structure is so much water that it exceeds 3 times the combined volume of every ocean on the surface. This rewrites history. Earth's water didn't just arrive on meteorites, it literally sweated out from inside the planet itself. The Australian bearded dragon lifts one front leg and waves it in slow circles as a peaceful greeting or sign of submission, literally waving at you like a tiny, scaly neighbor. But if it gets genuinely angry or needs to absorb heat fast, it can shift the scales on its throat from sandy beige to deep jet black in a matter of seconds. Seahorses are the worst swimmers in the ocean. Their rigid bodies have no tail fin, so they can barely move forward at all. A strong current would drag them away and kill them from exhaustion. That prehensile tail is a life-or-death anchor they clamp onto coral and stay completely still, waiting for plankton to drift close enough to their mouths to eat. El Salvador went from being one of the deadliest countries on Earth to one of the safest in the Americas in just a few years. The turning point was the creation of CCOT, a mega prison holding 40,000 gang members. By locking up cartel leadership and cutting them off from the outside world, the chain of command collapsed, and thousands of small businesses stopped paying extortion. While humans have 33 vertebrae, a snake can have more than 400. And where mammals have ribs sealed shut at the front by a sternum, snakes have no sternum at all. Their hundreds of ribs are open along the belly and can expand sideways without physical limit, which is how they swallow prey as large as whole antelopes or pigs. Clyde Tombaugh was the American astronomer who discovered Pluto in 1930. When he died, NASA honored his final wish. A small capsule of his ashes was placed aboard the New Horizons probe. In 2015, the probe flew past Pluto and kept going, carrying Clyde into deep space, making him the first human being with a genuinely interstellar grave. The architect of the Sydney Opera House designed those iconic sail-shaped roofs, but no engineer on Earth knew how to build them. He was stuck for years, until one day in his kitchen, peeling an orange, the answer hit him. If you slice pieces from the skin of a single perfect sphere, you can arrange them at any angle to create those sails. He solved a $1 million engineering problem eating fruit. The vizcacha looks like a rabbit crossed with a chinchilla, and it permanently has the face of a man deeply disappointed by life. It spends 90% of its day sprawled flat on rocks in the sun. Don't be fooled, it's an extreme energy conservation strategy for surviving high altitude in the Andes. The moment a puma shows up, manufacturers like Apple and HP deliberately call their products notebooks in the instructions and explicitly warn you not to put them on your lap. This is legal protection. The battery and processors generate enough heat to cause a real thermal burn called toasted skin syndrome, a documented dermatological condition caused by prolonged, intense heat on the same patch of skin. Rolex is not owned by Wall Street investors. It belongs to a charitable foundation. With no shareholders demanding annual growth, they simply refuse to build more factories. They produce a fixed number of watches, waiting lists stretch for years, and this makes the watch a Veblen good. The less people can have it, the more the world wants it. It's the most perfectly engineered artificial scarcity model in existence. An 80-foot tree surviving hurricane-force winds works exactly like the reinforced concrete in a skyscraper. It has two compounds: cellulose, which is flexible and acts like steel rebar, letting the tree bend without snapping, and lignin, a rigid polymer that acts like cement, providing hardness. Together, they build a structure that openly defies gravity. At 75 miles per hour, the car stops instantly on impact. The seatbelt stops your body, but your internal organs keep traveling at 75 miles per hour. Your brain slams against the inside of your skull, causing diffuse axonal injury, and your heart can tear the ligaments, anchoring it to your chest from sheer inertia, even if you don't have a single scratch on the outside. In the United States, the homicide clearance rate has dropped to roughly 50%. That means nearly half of all killers walk free without any consequence. Every year, more than 10,000 violent crimes are added to the cold case list, a number that horrifies criminologists and is nothing like what police procedurals on TV would have you believe. The brain is 73% water. Go hours without drinking and your body starts pulling water from the brain to keep your blood from thickening. The brain literally shrinks in volume, physically tugging on the meninges, the membrane anchored to the inside of your skull. That mechanical pull is exactly what triggers a dehydration headache. Aloe vera is almost miraculous for burns. 99% of that clear gel is water. The power is in the remaining 1%, which contains ace-mannan and glycoproteins. These compounds force your immune system's macrophages to work 3 times as hard and stimulate skin fibroblasts to produce collagen at a dramatically accelerated rate, healing the wound in record time. Cats aren't cold or disloyal, they just speak a different language. Dogs are pack animals with facial muscles built to display submission and joy. Cats are solitary predators with no muscles to smile. They show affection by staying near you or slow blinking in your direction. They're not distant, they're speaking in micro-gestures. Most humans never learn to read. We buy fresh vegetables thinking they're healthier. That's a myth. A fresh spinach leaf can lose up to 50% of its vitamin C during the days it spends in a refrigerated truck before reaching your kitchen. Frozen vegetables, on the other hand, are flash frozen individually within about 3 hours of being pulled from the ground, locking in far more nutrients biologically intact. In South Africa, there's an incredibly rare genetic mutation called erythrism that strips nearly all black pigment from a leopard's body and replaces it with red pigments. The result is a wild leopard with pale salmon or pastel pink fur and rust-red spots instead of black. One of the strangest, rarest, and most striking animals in all of African nature. On many side view mirrors, there's a thin vertical line of black dots near the outer edge. That's not a defect. It marks where the glass becomes aspheric from that line outward. The mirror curves physically outward to give you a wider field of view and nearly eliminate the dangerous blind spot every driver has when changing lanes on the highway. Mint gum doesn't actually lower the temperature in your mouth. Mint contains menthol, a chemical molecule that binds directly to the receptor on your tongue that detects cold. Menthol literally tricks your brain's nerves into believing there's ice in your mouth. Even when it's 86 degrees Fahrenheit in there, no temperature change is happening. It's pure neurological chemistry. If you print a black and white text document on a modern laser printer, the machine is printing something you can't see. It embeds an invisible grid of tiny yellow dots across the entire page called a machine identification code. This hidden code contains the exact serial number of your printer and the precise date and time of printing. It's technology the FBI uses to track counterfeiters. Underneath the feet of airline passengers, there are tons of packages. They're not loaded by hand, they use containers shaped precisely to match the curved interior of the aircraft's hold, called ULDs. The cargo floor is lined with hundreds of steel rollers and ball bearings. Thanks to that system, just 2 ground workers can push a platform weighing over 6,000 pounds with one hand. Your brain hates flying because of total loss of control. The moment you enter the airport, you surrender your shoes, get scanned, and get sealed into a metal tube where your survival depends entirely on 2 strangers in the cockpit. On top of that, the cabin is pressurized to the equivalent altitude of nearly 8,000 feet. That mild oxygen reduction in your blood is the direct cause of the irritability and exhaustion you feel when you land. Those handles above the car door, what people call the "oh shit" handle, weren't invented so you could brace during a fast turn. The original design is a mobility device, a fixed anchor point for elderly passengers, pregnant women, or people with limited mobility to pull their own body weight in and out of the seat without needing help from anyone. If you stare at a spot on the wall and try not to move your eyes, your eyeballs are still trembling. If the eye held completely still, the cells of your retina would burn out and everything would fade to gray. To stop this, your eye muscles make constant, tiny vibrations called microsaccades that continuously refresh the image without you ever noticing. The ridges and channels pressed into the roof and sides of commercial vans aren't aerodynamic design or aesthetics, it's pure structural engineering. A large, flat panel of sheet metal would buckle, vibrate, and roar in the wind. By folding the metal into those corrugated waves, mechanical stress is redistributed across the surface, and the whole structure becomes exponentially more rigid using less material. Everyone knows giraffes eat acacia leaves, but savanna plants don't contain enough calcium or phosphorus to maintain the tallest skeleton on the planet. To keep their bones from going brittle, giraffes practice osteophagia. They seek out sun-dried animal carcasses and chew the bones whole to extract the essential minerals that vegetation simply cannot provide. Those silica gel packets in shoe boxes marked "Do Not Eat" are not lethal poison. They're silicon dioxide synthetic sand that absorbs moisture, completely non-toxic. The warning exists for one reason only. They're a mechanical choking hazard if a small child swallows the whole packet at once. Your heart is a massive muscular pump making a tremendous amount of noise inside your chest, and you almost never hear it. Your brain actively filters out the sound of your own heartbeat and classifies it as useless background noise. If it didn't censor that constant, insistent thudding all day long, the sound would genuinely drive you out of your mind within hours. Deodorant and antiperspirant are not the same thing. Deodorant just adds fragrance to mask odor and a bit of alcohol to kill bacteria. Antiperspirant is chemical engineering. It contains aluminum salts that dissolve on contact with sweat and form a solid gel plug that physically seals the pores in your armpit. By global connectivity and recognition indexes, London consistently ranks as the most recognized city in the world, the most photographed, the most mentioned on social media. Its cultural, financial, and historical reach make it the central node of the entire human network, above even New York or Paris, a convergence point unlike anything else in the history of civilization. A hippopotamus's short, flat tail works like a boat propeller. When the dominant male defecates, he wags his tail at a ridiculous speed from side to side. This shreds his own excrement mid-air and sprays it outward like a rotating sprinkler, creating an impenetrable odor barrier that tells rival males exactly how far his territory extends. Constant fatigue isn't always about sleep. It's often about not moving enough. Your body generates energy inside cellular mitochondria. Sit in a chair for 8 hours, and your body decides it doesn't need that much power, so it physically destroys thousands of your mitochondria to conserve resources. The less you move, the fewer cellular batteries you have. There are currently 180 official currencies in circulation around the world. The British pound sterling holds the record as the oldest currency in continuous use. But the undisputed king is the US dollar, involved in nearly 90% of all international transactions on Earth, the unchallenged global reserve currency of all of humanity. Male nipples serve no function. In the womb, every human being starts out following a biologically female baseline blueprint. In the first weeks, the fetus develops nipples and basic breast tissue. It isn't until the 6th to 8th week that the Y chromosome kicks in. By then, the nipples were already built, and the body doesn't waste energy removing them. Flying in a helicopter is more dangerous than a commercial plane, but still far safer than driving a car. If the engine fails, the helicopter doesn't drop like a stone. It enters auto-rotation. Rising air spins the blades like a windmill. And this is all. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Zarpado facts.